banking around the historic circuit here at Monza. On Friday, the crowds then gathered for the special autograph session, the exhibition grid. David Valsecchi, ex-GP2 champion, Luca Salvadori, motorcycle racer amongst those, and Piero Longhi, the two-time Italian champion in the #1 car. The driver sets things underway with a ceremonial start. But it was the #6 of Andrea Cragnola who got the first stage underway and got off to a terrific start in the Monza Stages rally, held across 8 stages through the historic banking in the historic circuit right the way through onto the Grand Prix track. Short, challenging stages. On board you ride with one of the stars of the World Rally Championship, the Spaniard Dani Sordo, who's been here several times and competed well. Andrea Cragnola, though, was flying, one of the key contenders in this year's Italian Championship. Started with victory in the opening stage and one special stage too. Into the night on Friday, and then on Saturday morning it was all action again. Dani Sordo, the Spaniard, absolutely flying in his Hyundai i20, was very much giving Cragnola a run for his money. And there was lots of traffic to be dealt with as well. Craig Breen just ahead of Cragnola. Those two would come together as Cragnola misjudged his braking in amongst the traffic. Craig Breen, one of the other World Rally Championship stars, in action. And there we see the jump steepened this year, and which will be very much a feature of the Masters show to come. There you can see this crowded circuit, these R5 category cars which take up the vast majority of the field this year, just how much time possibly was lost for drivers. Cragnola there at the back of the queue. But he would go on to continue leading into the night then. The second night, the sparks would continue to fly under the cover of darkness. And in the end, it was Andrea Cragnola who won the rally, won 5 of the 8 stages. Dani Sordo coming home in second place, and Andrea Nikita coming home in third place. Cragnola winning in the VW Polo alongside his co-driver Marco Bergonzi, winning the Monza Stages rally, a rally which has been won by some very famous names, not least of which has been Valentino Rossi in recent times, and he won it by 11.5 seconds. So we look forward then to the top drivers from the Stages rally, which has run over the last few days, to be coming into the Masters show on the special 1.5 kilometre long circuit, which has been laid out on the start-finish line of the Monza Grand Prix circuit. They also use the pit lane as part of the course, and it's a series of head-to-head stage knockouts, the first of which is going to come up in just about 4 or 5 minutes' time. The first of the finals for the historic category. We've got some demonstrations on track as well during the course of the day. A big crowd as ever gathered here at Monza for this highlight, this fantastic culmination of the 3 days of stage rallying. We've had the top competitors from each of the categories, plus some invited drivers are then brought forward to go into this special series of head-to-head knockouts. There you can see your first view of the start and what is also the finish line, and you can see that the cars, when we get to the competitive cars, we've got the drift cars on track for some demos. We've got a number of other demonstrations taking part during the course of this next few hours, this next afternoon of racing. Then we will have our first view of the cars that will run in opposite directions around the 1.5 kilometre long circuit, which features a number of chicanes, a number of hairpins. We have some short, sharp straights, and you've also got the jump, which has been steepened for this year, and we're going to see the cars taking off. In terms of the categories that we've got, a slight change in the format for this year is that most of the entry is going to be in the R5 category, the R5 1600cc turbocharged four-wheel drive cars, the likes of which you would find in the second tier of the World Rally Championship, WRC 2, are now powerful enough, 280 or so brake horsepower, and you've got pretty much the whole field in those types of car this year, whereas in previous years we've had World Rally Championship and WRC Plus cars competing right at the front of the field. This year, even if you're a star of the World Rally Championship, we've got Dani Sordo here, as you've seen, getting up onto the podium. Breen has been competing as well. Those competitors all brought back into the R5 category this year. There are a few entries in the WRC 1.6 category for the older cars that did compete in the World Rally Championship between 2011 and 2016. There aren't many competitors in that, but they will have their own heats and finals. We've also got the historic cars, which run in a number of groups built between 1972 up to 1990. But we start our coverage with a look at the course, really, for the first time, with our drift demonstration display. We've got some rallycross cars from Titans displaying several times throughout the course of the day as well. And this is going to be interesting to see how they fling the cars around. They have these special ceramic clutches on drift cars because of the pounding that the clutch takes as you hold the car on the throttle with one foot and on the clutch with another, and just balance that power, deliver it to the rear wheels of the car. And in drift competition, it is all about getting through the turns sideways and holding that drift for as long as possible, getting the angle of the drift as well. What has become a little sport over the last 10 years or so, really. It's surrounded by a Japanese motorcycle racer and started as a big sporting competition in Japan, and then has travelled across to the US, nowadays to Europe, lots of different national championships as well. So we've got these drift demonstrations which always take place. What it does give us is the chance to see the course for the first time that the cars are going to be running, and you can see just how tight it becomes on the specially laid out Masters course. 1.5 kilometres, as I say. The start is placed about 150 metres from the end of the pit lane. At the exit to that, there's a left-hand chicane that leads onto a straight, a short straight, only about 120 metres. The longest straight that they have is about 300 metres. There's various left-right chicanes. You run right by either side of the pit wall itself during the course of the runs, and then you've got these tight hairpins to negotiate as well. Certainly in the heats to begin with, until we get to the finals, it's 2 laps. One starts in the pit lane facing in one direction. The competitor starts on the start grid facing in the other. They go off in opposite directions, and then they cross tracks halfway around, and at the end of 2 laps the best time counts, and depending on the category you either get 1 or 2 runs at this to see which of the best times then qualify through to the finals. So at 12:36 local time, in just a couple of minutes time, we'll have the first head-to-head. We're going to start with 2 matchups in the historic category. We'll start with Group 2, a couple of Porsches coming up, and a couple of Porsches in Group 3 as well. And then we move on to the first view of the main category with the R5 category cars, which have taken up the vast majority of the fields this year. And the winner of the Stages Rally for 2019, as you saw from the VT at the start, Andrea Cragnola, is the driver that is going to be the one to beat. He's going to go in actually the first in the qualifying heats in his VW Polo. Another driver that has been very successful here at Monza Rally and in Italian rallying. The 2-time Italian champion Piero Longhi will go up against him. That's going to be at 12:48, the third of our heats that we run. We've got also featuring esteemed GT racer Marco Bonomi, one of the stars that has always done well here at the Masters show and in the main Monza Stages Rally. He's going to be out there. Dani Sordo, Andreas Mikkelsen, the 2 drivers for Hyundai in the WRC, who have both been here before and both been successful before. They're going to be in the finals, as well as a number of stars from the Italian National Rally Championships. Craig Breen, another that's out there as well. He finished 5th overall, the Irishman, in the Stages Rally. Martin Weidega is the Belgian who's alongside him, who experienced rally pilots alongside him, but spoke to Craig yesterday, who was getting a bit frustrated with all the traffic that you saw in the highlights VT at the start there, costing him. So he was 5th. Andreas Mikkelsen was in 6th place, and of course this year, as I say, they have got a level playing field. They're in exactly the same types of cars, these R5 category cars, as the vast majority of the field, whereas in previous years the Italian national competitors have been in the R5 cars, and the drivers from the International World Rally Championship stage have come into the more powerful cars. Before we get into the action, to the end of this drift show, time to introduce you to the commentary team that you're going to be hearing from on the live stream and broadcasting on TV as well throughout the course of the afternoon. So my name's Chris Hartley, and delighted to be back here at Monza. just a couple of weeks before Christmas as we continue what's been a long season of motorsport, and this is the culmination of what's been a fantastic few days of stage rallying with the Masters Show, which we will talk you through again. And Gianluca Nataloni from the Rally Link website has been covering all the stages rally. He always comes and joins us in the commentary box, has huge knowledge of national and international rallying, knows a lot of these competitors and has covered them for many years. And so it's great to have you back in the commentary box.
It's great to be back with you, Chris. Thank you very much. It's great to be back in Monza. It's always a great end of season party, particularly so this year with this new formula of only allowing the R5 cars, which has brought up some criticism initially, insofar as obviously the crowd here at Monza have always been spoiled to the best of motorsport. But honestly, amongst the drivers, the major feeling was that at least with these new R5 cars, which might turn out to be the ultimate machinery in WRC cars, should the talks about hybrid formula not go forward, at least it's been a useful test to see and to allow all sorts of drivers to go up against the best drivers from WRC with equal machinery.
And we've seen very close competition, haven't we, all the way through the stages, which are by nature very short stages that we have here. We had, as I say, just 11 seconds or so covering the top two. I think the top five were covered by about 25 seconds. So it's been incredibly tight. Yeah, a couple of the competitors spoke to, say, Craig Breen, and he said, yeah, the big difference is that the margins are so fine, so tight in this competition. We've got the first head-to-head underway then. This is the final for the Group 2 historic rally cars. So the two Porsche 911s going head-to-head, numbers 203 and 204. 203 is Marco Superti, and the 204 car is Matteo Musti, both Italian competitors. Matteo Musti coming third in the Stages Rally, which was won by Lucky. Enrico Melli came second. Matteo Musti came home in third place in the separately run historic rally, so he should be going well here. And there you can see the tyre marks from the drift demo being laid down already. Each year they change the shape of the course slightly, and you can see the big sequence of an S-bend section, really, a double S-bend section. Sort of slightly wider chicane. You've got to get that right. The hairpins you absolutely have to get right, and it's all about getting out of there quickly. If you go in too deep, too fast, as we've just seen there, you run out of space on the way out of the corner, don't you?
Yeah, but it's interesting to note that the biggest part of this Master Show was used in the final stage this morning, so the drivers have had a bit of practice, apart from the fact that...
There's a tyre bail gone, that's the first one. We'll see a few of those, I think,
today. Oh,
yeah,
for sure, for sure. I don't know whether we'll care to keep count, but there'll definitely be some of them by this evening. As I was saying, this stage was used, part of the Master Show course was used as the final stage, so the drivers have had the opportunity to race it, to run it under race conditions, and then to recce it again. Yeah. Marco Superti and Giulio Paganoni, who actually are the overall winners of the historic rally, they were actually inherited the win from Lucio Zanche, who had been in the overall lead but retired. It was a very, very nice fight. The two crews were divided by only half a second going into this morning in the final two stages, and then Lucio Zanche retired in the penultimate stage. Engine failure, I believe. He also left a bit of oil on the track. But the first one to be sad about this was, to his credit, Superti, who said it would have been really, really nice to take the fight really to the last stage and to both be at the finish. Sod's law being what it is and motorsport being what it is, unfortunately. The one thing that I was noticing is that Superti was actually very, very fast into, when he touched those tyres, he was very, very fast into immediately selecting reverse, taking back the car, lost virtually, I don't know, maybe a couple of seconds, maybe even less.
He was quick to react, wasn't he?
Yeah, very, very quick.
It's Musti that takes the victory there by just a few seconds. At 3 minutes 12, the first run. Porsche, which isn't a brand you immediately associate with success in rallying, but absolute success in national rallying in particular. Successful in the 60s and 70s in the French national championship, Spain, Belgium, Germany. A couple of victories in the late 60s at the Monte Carlo rally on the international stage, and Goldgard was one of the pilots who took victory. Paolo Toivonen also involved in that. Superti is lighting up the tyres of the Porsche 911, the 300 or so brake horsepower of the car. The RS version of the car being lit up, and doing some donuts for the crowd, which are lined up along the grandstands overlooking here. You can see them opposite the point of the view of the commentary box, overlooking the whole track. They get a great view of the Masters circuit from the grandstand, and there you can see to the top left of your picture, also lined up above the pit lane. It's pretty crowded here. Another very successful event that has been in terms of attracting a lot of people, tens of thousands of people here to Monza over not just today but the last few days, and it's got busier and busier each and every day. So we're going to move on to our second final now. Congratulations to Superti with that victory by a couple of seconds. This is for Group 3 now, number 206 and number 209. The two drivers going together, and 206, familiar name, the ex-Grand Prix racer Alex Caffey is in that car, competing here this weekend, and the Monegasque is going up against number 209, which is Beniamino Lopresti. So these two both in Porsches as well, Porsche 911s, as they get the session underway. And as I say, there are different groups depending on the age of the cars within the historics, which is why I have these separate finals. So Group 2, the oldest cars that you just saw in that first run, built between 1972 and 1975. The Group 3 cars that are in this this final are slightly more modern, but still very much historic cars built in the late 70s. So 1976 to 1981 is the period in which these compete. We'll have Group 4 cars from the 80s up to the very early 1990s, coming up a bit later as well. But the 206 car of Alex Caffey there, you see, ex-Grand Prix racer, flicking the back end of the Porsche around, alongside Alex playing his part as well is the navigator, of course, Michele Caffey alongside. So a family affair, and it looks pretty smooth so far. So here we come into this hairpin. You can see from the aerial shot that it's a pretty wide exit there, but you've got to get the car lined up for the right, left sequence through this sequence of more S-bends than chicanes, but we'll call them chicanes, not as tight as typical chicanes. You get that right, a little squirt on the throttle, and then through what is definitely a chicane into the next hairpin, get on the handbrake. As ever, a double sequence of hairpins through the right, through the left, slowest part of the course for the time where you could lose the most time. It's actually a little bit slower over the first mark than we saw in the Group 2, which was a 1 minute 37 across the first lap. So 1 minute 38 there. So actually, despite the cars being slightly more modern, it shows what a good run it was from Superti to nail that victory in that first final that we saw. So there is the 209 car of Lopresti, and he's pretty aggressive on the exit to that chicane as well, as now he makes his way through the wide hairpin towards that S-bend section, negotiating this part of the course. Into the next hairpin he goes. Alex Caffey has avoided the tyres and the barriers so far. 2 minutes 22 is up to, as he goes through another half a lap to go for him. And looking at around about 3 minutes 12, not the time to beat because it's a separate final, but the best time that we've had so far. We should get significantly quicker, of course, when we have the more modern machinery, but still a good effort this. Airborne over the jump and pointing the nose in now through what's an incredibly tight sequence this. You get one section wrong here, Gianluca, and you get them all wrong, don't you?
Yeah,
you lose your rhythm completely.
Yeah. I was actually thinking that I spoke with Alex Caffey the other day. He was telling me what a feeling it is to be doing this event co-driven by his son.
Yeah.
And I think he took to the pace notes. He got the hang of the pace notes quite quickly. He was he looked very, very relaxed even at stage ends, at ease with the pace notes, with the time card, following the itinerary. And Alex for sure is a very experienced driver. He's done Monza a number of times, so it's absolutely good for them to be together and to enjoy this win in Group 3. Part of the, while we're at it, part of the Porsche history was that Porsche enabled Vic Elford to clinch the 1967 European European Championship. It was 52 years before another British driver took the European Championship, and it's been this year with Chris Ingram and Ross Whittock, with Vic Elford, congratulating them from, I can't remember where he now lives. He lives outside of Europe, but that's another milestone in Porsche's history in rallying. So 52 years after the last British driver, Vic Elford, big shout out to Chris Ingram and Ross Whittock for clinching their maiden European Championship title this year. It's been a great season, a lot of close fights, and with 3 drivers taking the title to the final round in Hungary, a new event which actually joined the season this year, joined the European Championship. So it's it must say something that in 3 finals out of 4, the group finals here in the historic Masters show and the historic rally are all done by Porsches.
Yes, true. Yes, they've been successful all the way through the weekend, haven't they? As you saw that 5.5 second victory it was in the end for ex-Grand Prix racer Alex Caffey. Had the opportunity to race for a top team in Formula 1, teams like Dallara, race for Ferraros as well. Scored some points, never a podium in Formula 1, but it's been great to have him here as we move then into the first of the R5 categories. And there, Gianluca is the man that's added his name to this list of famous winners of the Monza Stages rally, and he dominated, didn't he? He was the only driver to win, Andrea Cragnola, more than one stage, and he won 5 stages during the course of the last few days, including the very first stage, and he's had his nose in front really all the way through. Just that one incident yesterday morning where in the traffic he just got misjudged slightly, just got caught out, went into the back of Craig Breen, had some damage to the front of the car, but didn't lose that much time. But he's got a real match here, hasn't he, with the 2-time Italian champion Piero Longhi, who's also had great success at this Monza Rally over the last few years as well.
Yes, Piero has been very successful both at the Monza Rally and at the Masters show. Although this, I think, is his first time with the Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Whereas Andrea Cragnola has done, who is one of our younger and most experienced drivers, even at international level, he has done a great season in the Italian Championship. He narrowly missed out on the title in the final round, but did secure the Italian Tarmac Championship title. It's been really a nice fight, the Italian Championship this year. We went to the final round with 4 drivers, with 4 different car manufacturers, and all 4 of those drivers at one point or the other during the final event were virtually champions. So it's really
closest one ever, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I really can't remember 4 drivers fighting for the championship at the very last round. The only one who wasn't there, and we can see him outside our commentary box, I don't know whether he'll be on air any time, is 11-time champion Paolo Andreucci,
right, yeah,
who this year stepped down from the Italian Championship, remaining faithful to Peugeot as a brand ambassador. Peugeot has only doing the two-wheel drive championship, a program for the two-wheel drive championship for the winner of the trophy, and the main program in the Italian Championship they've switched to Citroën, which is all part of the same big PSA family, with Luca Rossetti taking his turn into the driving seat.
Well, Longhi and Cragnola both looking good. It should be an evenly matched contest, this. Cragnola in his Longhi in his early 50s now, with bags and bags of experience. He actually won this Monza Rally Masters show back in 2008, and he beat a certain Valentino Rossi. You might have heard of him that year to win it. Finished 3rd in the Stages rally that year as well, and he got to the final in the Masters show last year as well. Flag out though over the line. It is Cragnola that's won in the end by a few seconds, about 4 seconds, 4.21 seconds. So he continues to go absolutely brilliantly here this weekend. Andrea Cragnola, as I say, has dominated the Stages rally, and runner-up in the Italian Rally Championship this year, 3rd the year before. He's the first to do that thing we see quite often here, the driver celebrating by keeping the car running and standing up, getting out of the car. So he just seems to have huge positive energy this weekend, and to beat Piero Longhi with all of the success that he's had at this event is no mean feat, to beat him by quite some distance as well, isn't it?
And the interesting feature that we have on our screen, and I don't know whether it's available on the on the internet, if people are looking at the live results, is we have some new feature this year, some indication of the top speed. We've seen Longhi have a top speed of 146.6 kilometers. I don't know where that is recorded on the track, while Crignola is 160. It's a huge difference.
Yeah. That's all about the exit speed from the hairpin. It'll be that longer blast that got around about 300 metres, the longest blast they get. Right, this head-to-head then, next R5 category from Great Britain, Reece Yates and Katie Munnings, who is a rally driver herself, competing in the European Rally Championship, winner of the Women's Championship. But we only got one off the line, I'm afraid.
Andrea Nocita,
who's the other competitor, hasn't got the car running. And Andreas had a fantastic weekend so far. He was on the podium in the top 3 in the Stages rally. Funnily enough, happened to Reece Yates last year, didn't it? He couldn't get his car off the line in one of the heats.
Absolutely, yes. It's just the same thing that I was thinking. Andrea Nocita's had a great season. He's had a go at World Rally Championship events. He has won the Abarth 124 trophy within the framework of the European Championship. But some sort of issue with his car. Reece Yates is in his 3rd time in Monza. He did it twice with Dani Sordo, French co-driver, and this time he's with Katie Munnings, who's taken...
Going to restart it, I think, aren't they?
Yes.
Exactly the same thing happened to Reece last year. He couldn't get the car started, so in that heat, again, they get another chance to
just
run
waiting, just looking at body language, it seems like the marshal that's standing next to Nocita's car is checking whether he will be able to restart or not. She made some sort of hand gesture, which didn't look promising, but she's now walking away from the car, so I presume that this means that they've managed to fix the issue, whatever that was.
Yeah. And incidentally, in R5, everybody gets 2 runs, 2 head-to-heads against each other, don't they? One starting on pit lane side, one starting on the grid side.
Yes.
And we take the times, the best time from that to see who qualifies through. They're both off the line this time, so Nikita gets the car off the line, which is great news. Both Hyundais these, the more red and black coloured car. That is Nikita, the Italian, who, as they finished 3rd in the Stages rally leading up to this. Was on the podium, just about an hour or so ago, celebrating that, but straight back to business for Nikita. And you've got Reece Yates and Katie Munnings alongside Katie, won the women's title in the 2016 European Rally Championship. First British driver to do that in nearly 50 years at the time. She's also been a star of TV in the UK, hosting her own television show on children's BBC, which was all related to cars. Katie's Amazing Machines, and good to see her here. I saw her at Carfest, actually, one of the big car events and music events, big festival in the UK, where she was doing some demonstration runs there to great effect. But Reece Yates, who's a very, very competitive young driver, competed this year in the WRC 2 World Championship and several rounds of that, including Wales Rally GB. And had some good results as well, some top 5 finishes. He was 10th in Wales Rally GB. He was 4th, though, in the opening round in Monte Carlo. Got a top 5 finish in France as well. He's actually started his career as a motorcycle racer, isn't that where I first saw him? When he was in the Red Bull Rookies, racing 125cc motorbikes and the support card to the MotoGP. Places like Silverstone, but he turned his attention a few years ago to rallying and he's been very successful, but he's down by 1.65 seconds, and Nikita has got the car going, and as we're not surprised to see, he's quick as well. 1 minute 29.43. Average speed, top speeds triggered at 153 kilometres an hour, which is the 2nd best that we've had. It's all about getting the exit speed there. So Reece Yates pushing on. You can see the left rear of the Hyundai lifting as he all the weight shifts to one side of the car. See him wrestling away at the wheel. Katie Munnings on pace note duty. And I guess being a driver herself will translate well to understanding what the driver needs to hear. From her point of view, reading through the notes. It must be an impossible job, that, almost, Gianluca, because she's being flung this way, then that. The corners come at you in no time, and she's got to try and stay on top of it all and get her driver through the course.
Well, actually, we've seen quite a number of drivers taking to co-driving duties here in Monza. If you remember, 2 years ago, it went all the way to Andreas Mikkelsen and Thierry Neuville sharing driving and co-driving duties.
Right.
And I remember interviewing them during the recce, and they said, well, actually, they both began their career as co-drivers.
Yep.
Whether that was, I suppose, that was a really, really regional, national level, but it's important to get a first taste of the sport, and
I think the more you understand about the whole process, the better, I think. Flag comes out, and Nikita's he sort of held him on that second run, didn't he, Yates, but couldn't close the gap. So 2 minutes 56.78, 1.36 seconds adrift was Rhys Yates. So pretty close in the end. Rhys Yates certainly had a better second lap, didn't he? But relief for Nikita, because he almost didn't get involved in that at all. Got the second chance, the car not starting to begin with. But he's taking victory in what's the second heat for R5, one of the big stars of the weekend coming up next, Marco Bononomi, who's had some great successes here in both the Masters Show and the Stages Rally over recent times. That the time we need to look at rather than whether you won your heat or not. So 2 minutes 56.78 for Nikita. He's actually nowhere near as quick as Craniola's winning time of 2 minutes 52.37. So you've got to take the fastest times rather than necessarily winning your heat is what we've got to look at. So he needs to improve upon that. It was 2 minutes 58 for Rhys Yates. You'd expect naturally the drivers to get quicker second time around. Once they've got more used to it, they can throw a bit more caution to the wind in that second run. Problem is they're all going to get quicker, aren't they?
Well, if you remember from the previous years, yes, there's a lot more rubber on the track, particularly on that part of the track which is not used during the stages, and I mean the pit lane area, which is not used normally in the stages. It's just part of the end of stage and stop control for the Grand Prix and some other stages. So it's definitely gonna be faster, but then again, remember, we're going towards the afternoon, sun's going down, track's getting colder. This is an interesting heat between Marco Bononomi, very, very successful, went close to victory here, Damiano De Tommaso. Damiano De Tommaso is another of our young, promising drivers with some previous experience also in World Rally Championship level. He won this year the International Rally Cup, which is a championship set up by the organizers of some international events, 5 events. He began the season in style, winning the first 2, then suffered some minor setbacks in the other 2 rounds, but finished the season really in style with a beautiful overall victory in Rally of Bassano del Grappa, namely being the town from which Mickey Biasion and Tiziano Siviero, our last World Rally champions,
They came from, yeah.
And so he secured a beautiful overall win and clinched the title in the final round. What that might mean for him next year is still not clear. Damiano works as a mechanic and is often seen in rallies with different type of overalls. Sometimes he's wearing fireproof overalls, sometimes not. But very, very, very nice guy, very dedicated. So his co-driver, young Giorgio Ascalone. They have done really a very, very good season, fighting against Alex Ray and taking the fight to the title to the final stages of the last event.
Marco Bononomi ahead at the end of that first run though, 0.87 seconds up, and a pretty decent top speed for Bononomi, 1 minute 50.7 when both his heats last year, but didn't make it through to the final because his times were not quick enough, and he has been in the final before 2 years ago, beaten by Andreas Mikkelsen. He was finishing as runner-up in the 2017 Monza Rally Masters Show.
Gentle nudge on the pile of tyres from Damiano. It's really down to the wire. It's really, really precise driving. Let's see what time takes. Damiano wasn't very satisfied. Said couldn't do better than what he did and he achieved on the rally. Was hoping for more, but couldn't get more than that. But still, he has I think some chance in the Master Show. It's a pity that we only have now the top speed for one of the 2 cars on the heat.
Yeah.
Namely, this time it's Bononomi, who is slow insofar as he's got top speed of 150.7 k's, as opposed to 157 from Lucita, 160 from Crugnola.
I don't think he's going to match the time of Cragnola either. 2 minutes 52. We're already over that. The flag comes out. He's going to win his heat. It's going to be the second fastest time so far. 2 minutes 55.68 seconds. Welcome everybody to the Monza Rally Masters Show for 2019. We are here, we have already got action underway as the qualifying heats lead towards the finals, the culmination of which will be the winner of the Trofeo Marco Simoncelli, who will be victorious this year. We have got wealth of talent from the Italian National Rally Championships. We've got rally stars from the World Rally Championship in action. Andreas Mikkelsen, Craig Breen here in action is another of them. We've also got stars from previous years of the Monza Rally, but who started out their careers as circuit racers, as car racers, the likes of Marco Bononomi, who we've just seen in his first heat, the former Italian GT champion and international GT racer in action as well. And Dani Sordo, another from the World Rally Championship, is going to go head-to-head here with fellow Hyundai driver Andreas Mikkelsen, who is one of the stars in action. This year, we have got all the big stars in the same types of car as the national drivers, the R5 category cars, the 1600cc turbocharged cars, around about 280 brake horsepower. In previous years, they have been in more powerful machinery, but it's a dead level playing field this year. We've had 3 days of stage rallying. Andrea Crognola, the Italian, taking the victory. The man you can see now, Dani Sordo, finishing second in the stages rally. Just 11.5 seconds behind him at the end of 8 stages, and Andrea Nikita, the Italian, coming home in 3rd place. But this is the top drivers from the stages rally, plus a few invitees have been brought forward to this separate event, fighting for the trophy named after the late great motorcycle MotoGP racer Marco Simoncelli, who sadly lost his life a few years ago out on track. And they are contesting a series of head-to-head competitions, 2 laps around the specially created 1.5 kilometre long circuit here, which features chicanes, tight hairpins, a jump in the middle of the course as well. They start, as you saw just now, in opposite directions on the start line. One starts in the pit lane, one starts on the circuit. They have 2 laps in these heats. There are longer races to come, and there are different categories as well. We've had our first few heats. I'll bring you up to speed those soon. The heats, the R5 category, everybody gets 2 goes, and it's the fastest times that count to take the quickest drivers through to the next stage. And the fastest time that we have seen so far in the first heat before we came on air for television was Andrea Crognola, the winner of the stages rally, 2 minutes 52.37. But you've got 2 stars of International World Rally Championship action here. Dani Sordo, Andreas Mikkelsen, both with huge experience in this event as well. That are going to be fighting hard. Andreas Mikkelsen won the Masters show just a couple of years ago in 2017, beating Marco Bononomi. Gianluca Nataloni from the Rally Link website has been covering the event all the way through the course of the year, and he always joins us in the commentary box for the Masters show. My name's Chris Hartley, and we're going to be talking you through what should be, Gianluca, a spectacular afternoon of head-to-head special rallying.
For sure. Welcome everybody. This is the first heat where the Hyundai team is celebrating its success in the Manufacturers World Rally Championship. We have the winning cars, the World Rally Car plus Hyundai i20, and 4 of its crews here, Dani Sordo, Andreas Mikkelsen and Craig Breen, did the event, took part in Monza Rally Show with R5 cars, while Thierry Neuville just flew in literally yesterday from Paris, where he received his trophy for his 2nd place in the World Rally Championship, and Andrea Damo collected the silverware for the Manufacturers Championship.
0.06 seconds between them at the last time check,
and 171 kilometers at top speed. I think we had 160, if I remember, top speed for the R5. So this is definitely...
This is looking good, isn't it?
It is. It's a big party, and all the drivers, when I interviewed Andreas and Dani at the end of the regular event, said they were looking forward to the show, to having a bit more fun and giving a bit more fun to all the crowds. It's the fans are very passionate throughout the world, but here in Italy we seem to take it a little nudge up. It was acknowledged also by a tweet yesterday by Carlos Del Barrio, Dani Sordo's co-driver, who thanked the spectators for their warm welcome, and particularly the marshals. I know that thanking the marshals and never forgetting that those are the ones who really make it possible is something close to my heart and to your heart, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't come. We can't enjoy any of this, can we? Nor can the competitors. And not only that, they do a fantastic job in making everything run smoothly, making sure that everybody runs safely as well. This is going to be super tight. Dani Sordo just gets the handbrake on for one final time through the left-hand hairpin, sprints for the flag and goes through 4 minutes 13.25, only 0.31 seconds quicker though. So that was incredibly close, wasn't it? As you'd expect between two top-level World Rally Championship competitors in essentially identical machinery there. But Dani Sordo, who finished second at the Stages Rally, taking it by a third of a second. He got a victory in the World's Rally Championship this year. In Sardinia. He finished 8th in the championship. He only did 8 rounds, and when he did turn out, he was very competitive indeed, the Spaniard. Won in Sardinia, on the podium in Catalonia at the end of the season as well, in what turned out to be the last rally of the year. That was only his second win in the World Rally Championship, and his first since his debut victory back in 2013 in Rally Germany. But it's still very strong competitor. Got to the final of the Masters show a couple of years ago up against Valentino Rossi, but crashed out. So second to him, but he'll be very much one of the key competitors you'd look to get through here. Andreas Mikkelsen giving him a real run for his money though. 4th in this year's World Rally Championship. Several podiums, including in Italy, Turkey, and second place finish in Argentina. Anders Jaeger is his co-driver here this weekend, and his regular co-driver in the World Rally Championship. So 4 minutes 13.25 seconds for Sordo, 4 minutes 13.56 seconds it was for Andreas Mikkelsen. A longer run there around the course that we had in that first heat for the WRC Plus.
There'll be 3 laps instead of 2,
yeah, they did, yeah. It's 2 laps that we've been seeing for R5. So R5 is the biggest category here this weekend. That's where most of the competitors have been, and all competing in the same field. And the Stages Rally won by Andrea Cragnola, who we've seen several heats before we came on air for TV. We saw a couple of the historic heats. We had victories for 2 Porsches, including Alex Caffey, ex-Formula 1 racer, Grand Prix racer, who won his final in the Group 3 historic stages. Andrea Cragnola setting the fastest first time in the heats for the R5 category, 2 minutes 52.35. He beat 2-time Italian champion Piero Longhi, who was nearly 4 seconds slower than him. We had also a victory for Andrea Nikita, who finished 3rd in the Stages Rally coming into this event. He won his heat up against Britain's Rhys Yates. Katie Munnings, who's co-driving this weekend alongside Rhys. And then actually Nikita had a problem at the start. He didn't get the car off the line initially, so had to restart it, and then he won his heat. And the other winner in R5 was Marco Bononomi, who's been a finalist in the Masters Rally before, and finished 4th in the Stages Rally this year, the ex-GT racer. We've got the Paletto Drift display team that will be coming on track. Also have some Titans rallycross demonstrations scattered throughout the course of the heats as well to entertain the crowd here, which is regularly over 50,000 people that come flocking to Monza for this last big event of the season, taking in the Stages Rally, not just the tarmac of the modern-day Grand Prix circuit, but also the historic banked circuit here, which is 2 and 4-wheel fame, taking two banks in the 20s and 30s and beyond. So the R5 category winners, Cragnola, Nikita and Bononomi in their heats. They all get another heat, and it's your time that counts, the fastest time that takes you through to the finals, the semi-finals, if that is the case in the stages. So Cragnola fastest, 2 minutes 52.37, and Bononomi second quickest at the moment with his winning time of 2 minutes 55.68 seconds. So Cragnola has just gelled this weekend, hasn't he, Gianluca? He, in the Stages Rally, won 5 of the 8 stages. The only driver to win more than one stage. We had stage victories for Dani Sordo at a slightly slow start to the rally, but then got very consistently into the top 3. Marco Bononomi had a stage win, and and Andreas Mikkelsen had a stage win, but Cragnola winning 5 out of the 8 to take the title this year.
Yes, absolutely. Andrea comes from a very good season in the Italian Championship. He won the Tarmac Championship within the framework of the main title, and narrowly missed out on the title. It was a very, very interesting season in the Italian Championship this year, where we went into the final round with 4 drivers driving 4 different cars from 4 different manufacturers could still take the title. At some point during the final rally, they all in turns were virtually champions. In the end, it was Gian Domenico Basso who is not competing here. He was here as a spectator. I saw him yesterday. In the end, it was Gian Domenico Basso who took the silverware. But for sure, a very, very good season from Andrea Cragnola. And it says something that the first words he told me when I was interviewing him at the finish of the rally was, yes, very good end to the season, but there's still the master show. We want to take that as well.
We want to take that title, absolutely. Well, this what's the 4th heat, qualifying heat for the R5s. You've got number 21, which is Luca Bottarelli. Giuseppe Zagami in the co-driver's seat. Number 29 is Giuseppe Friulia with Marco Policino alongside. They are in the Skoda Fabias. And in terms of one of the separate categories that ran in the Stages rally, we had Andrea Mebellini coming home in 2nd spot, didn't we, in the Hyundai i20 R5 trophy, just behind Andrea Nikita, who got into the overall podium.
Yes, actually it's Andrea Mebellini, who comes from simulator racing. He had his first experiences as a driver in a simulator and performed very, very, very well. I think he went all the way to being part of the Ferrari Academy, but then turned to rallying because it's possibly easier to find some support and find some finance. In this heat he's against Luca Bottarelli, who is co-driven by Beppe Zagami, who is the president of New Turbomark. It's a team, and he's also the organizers of several regional events in Italy during the year. Both Andrea and Luca Bottarelli did well in the event, finished a bit down the running order, some minor issues during the event. Andrea Mebellini was impressive last year in his debut on R5 machinery in a smaller rally, which is still done on circuit here in Italy. Very, very good job from him and his girlfriend and co-driver Virgilenzi, while Luca Bottarelli is now joined, as I said, not with the regular co-driver, but the president, Beppe Zagami, the president of New Turbomark. This is the 6th heat we're seeing, and the slowest one insofar in terms of top speed. We have the indication that, oh no, sorry, it's just changed now. They're very, very close though. Luca Bottarelli is 150.1 kilometers top speed, while Andrea Mebellini is 151. This decision of the organizers to only have the Monza Rally show with R5 machinery this year, I think, was very brave. And the drivers, the local drivers, let's say, were singing the praise of the fact that for once they really could take on equal terms against the likes of the World Rally Championship stars. And which better demonstration to that than the fact that actually the Hyundai drivers were beaten by Andrea Cragnola.
Absolutely, yeah. You had, as we saw, that victory, quite comfortable victory in the end for Mebellini, with a time of 2 minutes 55.92. Yeah, only of the world's WRC stars, only Dani Sordo made the overall podium. Craig Breen was 5th. Andreas Mikkelsen finished 6th overall in the Stages rally as well. So really to level the playing field out, and very close as well. Lots of the issues, which are the same for everybody, I guess, with traffic. Certainly some of the things that were being complained about by the WRC stars yesterday. This next matchup then, we've got the number 14 and number 16 cars, and worth watching this because Alessandro Rey has been a very strong competitor in recent visits to the Monza Rally. He's in the number 14 VW Polo, and he's going head-to-head in this heat with Luca Rossetti, who's one of the forerunners, one of the stars of the Italian National Rally Championship. So they get off the line together. Away they go. The Citroen C3 being driven by Rossetti, the VW Polo by Florian Rey, both are 5 category cars rather, the likes of which you would see competing in this level of car, this type of car, in the WRC 2 category, the second tier of the World Rally Championship. So around about 280 brake horsepower, turbocharged 1.6 litre cars, and based on production cars, production chassis, as you can see as well. So this should be a very intriguing matchup, and 2 drivers that could well feature at the top of the overall fastest times.
Absolutely. Luca Rossetti was chosen this year by Citroen to drive the C3R5 in the Italian Championship. Citroen, being part of PSA, the same group as that owns Peugeot, took over from Peugeot, who clinched the 11th title of Paolo Andreucci in 2018. But Peugeot, the PSA elected to give Citroen a chance, whereby Andreucci was retained as a brand ambassador for Peugeot. He's coaching the junior drivers. That's the first heavy nudge into tyres we've seen. So as I was saying, Paolo Andreucci took to the Gravel Championship, where he finished runner-up to Frenchman Stefan Consani, while Luca Rossetti was virtually leading the Italian Championship and would have won the title. He was virtual champion at the start of the last special stage of the last event, where he had a puncture and lost it all. It's been, as I said, it was a really close fight, and I think Luca wants some revenge, and so does Alessandro Rey, who did a very nice season in the International Rally Cup, finishing runner-up to Damiano De Tommaso, who we saw in action before. Alessandro Rey takes turns between driving and managing HK Motorsport, HK Racing, sorry, which has fields these Volkswagen, fields some Skodas, and is becoming one of the most important Italian teams, known both in Italy and abroad. They have cars in the French Championship, they have cars abroad, like several other teams who have racing here in Monza, such as Balbosca, Roger Tuning, and Alessandro, the son of Felice Re, who we saw in action here in the previous years, is the manager and runs the team in everyday life. So it takes a bit of a toll. In the interview at the end of the rally, he said that he struggled a bit to set up the car and find confidence because he doesn't spend as much time inside the car as he would like.
Closest one yet, 0.13 seconds. Ray just clipped the barriers again, didn't he, through that last set of hairpins. That might just have cost him that victory, but 0.013 seconds the difference between them, and Rossetti just getting it. It was almost a photo finish that as they crossed the line together, but Rossetti taking the time. The overall fastest time that we've had still belongs to Andrea Crognola, that 2 minutes 52.37, the second best up until that point. Also looking to qualify through for the final was a 2 minutes 55.68 from Marco Bononomi, so not as quick as that. 2 minute 56.81 seconds it was for Rossetti, and 2 minutes 56.94 seconds for the VW Polo of Ray, which took a little bit of a clattering there. He has a couple of runs into the barriers, including that last exit from that last sequence of hairpins, as he was pushing on very hard indeed. So in and around good times that. We've had a lot of drivers in the R5 category so far in the 2 minute 56 second bracket. It's been incredibly tight, but a standout performance by some distance so far. Andrea Crognola, who put in the live stream, but you wouldn't have seen if you joined on television, because that was the first heat, but you will get another chance to see him up against Piero Longhi. The next two competitors, though, going for the head-to-head in the R5 category, which is going to be heat number 6 for them. We get the chance to see Matteo Beretta, the number 34 Skoda, and also the Skoda Fabia, the number 43 car is Luca Tossini. So we're just outside the top 10 in the stages rally, the 8 stages that we had, the separate category, the Monza Rally, leading into this event. So he should be competitive in this all-conquering Skoda Fabia, which has been a hugely successful maker car in the international scene. They've sold, since it was launched in 2015, almost 250 of these models to various rally teams around the world. 240 plus units have been sold, and has won over 700 rally competitions all across the world, the Skoda Fabia, since its launch only 4 years ago now, and very successful, of course, in the WRC 2 championship as well. This type of car here, Louis Loubet in this year's WRC 2 championship, taking a Skoda Fabia 2 championship title success over the jump, which you were saying yesterday to me as we were watching over on the pit wall here at Monza. Gianluca, has been steepened this year. It's a bit of a steeper, shorter jump, so the car's a bit more airborne than they were 12 months ago.
It is, and it's part of the features that were developed considering these slightly less powerful machinery that will be doing the rally this year. Another thing that's gone are the 2 donuts at the 2 ends of the course, which used to host. You remember that big champagne bottle? Yes. One of the sponsors who got tilted, gently nudged, and then tilted, and then finally knocked over.
Yeah, that's gone now, isn't it? Yeah, I like this course actually. It's a bit more flowing, isn't it? They've got that sequence of S-bends. They've got the shorter jump. They've got the grass, as you can see, which you can take to as well. Yeah. And you've still got their hairpins, so still some tight sections. But overall, it's a sort of faster, more flowing course, I think, this year.
Absolutely. We would need to check. Maybe we can do it later. The obviously WRC Plus cars are doing 3 laps, so we can't compare the total time for the heats. But we could compare the fastest lap times. There goes more tire. There goes more tires. Compare lap times also because the jump with this new angle, with this new design, could be slightly more complicated for the World Rally cars.
Last year, Paolo Andreucci won the R5 final with a time of 2 minutes 56.96. The fastest time that we saw was actually in the heats. It was Andrea Cragnola, who's going well this year as well. He did a 2 minutes 54.85, so it's 2.5 seconds quicker this year.
Yeah, but you must remember, they've taken some of the features out, including the donut, which was quite time-consuming.
Yeah. It shows what a pretty rapid course it is this year, doesn't it?
It is, but it also shows the attention that the organisers are putting into listening to suggestions and making their event better every year. 2:55.31 is an interesting time by Tozzini.
That is the second best. Yeah, that's the second best time, isn't it? 2 minutes 55, a low 2:55. The only other drivers to get into the 2:55s, Marco Bononomi did a 2:55.68, and Mobilini did a 2:55, just about did a 2:55.92. So that's the second fastest time so far. Could see him through to the final. We'll find, because they get another run. Everybody gets another run and a chance to improve their times.
Yeah, but bear in mind that the next rounds are going to be in over half an hour. We now have another heat of the WRC Plus cars, then the Titan rallycross cars. So it's interesting. If you remember, it also happened last year. It'll be interesting to see if and how conditions of the track and therefore stage times are going to change.
True. Yeah.
Look, you see. I was looking now at the top speeds. Alessandro Re actually has the fastest, the greatest top speed at 162. And Tozzini, despite being at 156, so he's 5th or 6th fastest, as what concerns top speed, is actually 2nd fastest time around the course. So it's also a matter, it's not only a matter of top speed, but it's a matter of accuracy and losing as little time as possible around the hairpins.
So Thierry Neuville and Craig Breen, 2 stars of the WRC. Thierry Neuville, who's been the star of the Monza Rally Show a few times as well. Both in the under I-20s. Hyundai, as Gianluca said, taking their first manufacturers and indeed drivers title in the World Rally Championship with Tanak this season, celebrating that. And we've got the Hyundais out in force. They also always support this event very well. Another firecracker this. So this category, WRC Plus, we've also already had Dani Sordo versus Andreas Mikkelsen. That was mighty close. Just 0.3 of a second between them at the end of what's an extended run. They get 3 laps around. You can see they take more air over the jump. 4 minutes 13.25, the time to beat, set by Dani Sordo. Craig Breen, who's a bit frustrated in the rally with traffic and not quite getting the best of runs, not been had the best of days, but still finished 5th in the overall rally itself. So we'll see how he gets on in this. Thierry Neuville hasn't been taking part, but has turned up today to come and try and win this Masters event. So Neuville will clip the barriers. A few of them are clipping that barrier on the way through into that hairpin section. Neuville does exactly the same, the Belgian. It's the back end of the car around the key front runners, one of the key challengers in recent years to the championship success, the ultimate championship success that we've had up until this year for Sebastian Ogier. It's the driver that's been giving him a run for his money, and he should be very competitive here. But Craig Breen, we're interested to see how the Irishman goes here.
Yes, I spoke to Thierry earlier today, and he was recalling this celebration that Hyundai held yesterday evening. I think it was very nice of him to say, you know, it's a sort of party for the people that we normally don't see during the year. And he couldn't do the event because he was in Paris collecting silverware for runner-up. I think I got mixed up earlier. Possibly said he'd be coming third. No, he's been runner-up, second place in the World Rally Championship this year, while Andrea Adamo collected the silverware for the cherished manufacturer title. But still, not with his regular co-driver. He's co-driven here by Florian Hola-Bourdette, who is a young Frenchman, normally co-driver to Bruno Ribéry in the R5 Volkswagen Polo in the French Championship. But still, Thierry, like his teammates, looking for some more celebration, for some more fun, to try and give back also to the fans some of the support that they've received over the years. Craig Breen did his 3rd time driving in Monza Rally Show, and one small peculiar fact is that he did it 3 times with 3 different spec machinery. His first time here was in a Super 2000 Peugeot, and he came back with driving a Ford Fiesta World Rally car, and this year was an R5 machinery.
The R5 car, yeah. He was half a second up at the first time check. Still very close in seat indeed. We have seen a couple of nudges of barriers. Are going to close that tyre stack as they can. Looking tiny though as he goes through, and has extended, doubled in fact, his advantage over Neuville. Now Neuville's not been driving the car all weekend, whereas Breen has, and as Gianluca said, they've had a chance to take in this course as part of the Stages rally, so he's always on the back foot here. But only a second or so down. His time will come in the second run, you suspect, where he's going to get down to it a little bit more here. Winner of the Masters Show 2 years ago, but as a co-driver, wasn't it? Because they shared the driving, him and Andreas Mikkelsen, and Mikkelsen did some of the heats as driver and some as co-driver, and they swapped around as well. But in the final, it was actually Andreas Mikkelsen behind the wheel. Was the co-driver 2 years ago to take that title. Gets the handbrake on, skids the tyres around that left hairpin, flicks it straight back into the right-hand hairpin. Thierry Neuville, runner-up in this year's World Rally Championship. So the Hyundai over the jump there as well, and into the chicane section now.
I was noticing Thierry's intermediate time here on a 1.5 kilometer course, done twice in 2 laps. In 3 kilometers, he's 3 seconds sharp. More than 3 seconds actually, faster than Crignola's fastest time. That's impressive. 2:49.23 against Crignola's fastest time, which currently is 2:52.37. Let's see on the finish line
available to him. It is 1.49 seconds that Craig Breen wins by. So 3rd lap, Neuville got a bit closer to him, didn't he? And he lost, I think, nearly 4/10 of a second on that final run. So you can see him get quicker and quicker. He lost half a second, he lost half a second, he lost 0.3 of a second. Cumulatively, that's nearly a second and a half that Craig Breen takes the victory by. 4 minutes 13.25 was the fastest time that we've seen in that first head-to-head between Sordo and Mikkelsen. Mikkelsen also with a very good time, even though he didn't win his heat, he could still theoretically qualify as being second fastest time. 4 minutes 13.56 was the time there. Neuville with a bit more pace to find, therefore. In terms of top speeds as well, identical between Neuville and Sordo. 171 kilometres an hour, but Craig Breen, the first driver to break the 4 minute 13 barrier. He almost broke the 4:12 barrier as well. 4 minutes 12.05 seconds. 4 minutes 13.54 for Neuville. So Gianluca, although he lost that one by a second and a half, actually he was a bit quicker than Mikkelsen, and he was only 2/10 slower than Sordo. So his pace is good, actually. It's just that Craig Breen has put a really good run together there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they're very, very close. They're practically on identical terms. It's obviously driving the same car, you would expect, in terms of top speed. And here too we have an interesting fact. You see, Craig Breen had a top speed of 169 kilometers against 171. So there too it's a case of perhaps not having the fastest top speed wherever it's recorded in the speed trap, as they call it, but a global, more efficient balance between speed and grip, coming out of the corners
all the way through the course as well, rather than being quick at one point in particular. But it's so close. I mean, those four drivers split by 1.5 seconds, and 3 of them split by less than 0.3 of a second. And Craig Breen, that really stands out there. So that first 3-lap run for them, the second heat for the WRC Plus category. They will go again, and then the fastest 2 times will go through to the WRC Plus final. Last year we had different formats, different categories of car in action. 2 of the big stars of the Monza Rally over recent years have been 7-time MotoGP world, or 7-time motorcycle world champion Valentino Rossi, and the multiple motocross world champion Tony Cairoli. And last year Tony won his category, WRC 16, and WRC Plus was won by Valentino Rossi, and they went head-to-head then in what was a super final last year with certainly Cairoli, the underdog in what had been up until that point a slower car, but he pulled something special out of the bag, didn't he? And he was a little bit down on the first lap. The four-lap final was a really long final, 5 minutes or so long. And then he matched his speed, then he got a bit quicker, and then he was a bit quicker again on the last lap by a fraction, by just about half a second in the end. Tony Cairoli took the victory in what was a spectacular win, really, up against the odds.
Yes, it was really exciting to watch them taking a fair fraction of time from Valentino Rossi, lap by lap. It got to the point where we were at the start of the final lap and said, hang on, can he do it? Is there something happening here?
He might do this, yeah. It was brilliant, wasn't it?
So close it was until the final lap. This is the first time that we see the Titans rallycross cars on the track this weekend.
It's a few demonstrations they're going to be doing for us now, isn't it? The Titans RX Championship, which was launched this year. The Titans name being brought back at the end of last year, and the first international championship run this season across Europe. It's going to go to North America with a fully international series in 2020. So they had 6 events in France, Britain, Lydden Hill, Portugal, Austria, Hungary and Germany. 12 rounds in total, and some big names took part in it as well. Craig Breen, who we've just seen in action, did a few rounds. The former British touring car champion who so nearly took a second title this year, Andrew Jordan, who's got good rallycross experience as well. Well, he races anything, historics, modern day touring cars, rallycross. He did a few rounds as well in ex-Formula 1 racer Nelson Piquet Jr. joined in for a couple of rounds as well. But doing the demos here this year, you've got Tamara Molinaro. She was one of the key competitors this year, finished in the top 6 in the championship. Didn't get onto the podium, but had lots of top 10 finishes, 4th place in Hungary, 4 other top 6 finishes. So she's been one of the real stars this year of this category, which is much more economically viable type of rallycross than we've seen before. That's the idea. And they had some good entries, some good grids of competitors as well. Molinaro Italian and looking to go well here. Oh, they're not competing against one another. Molinaro just trying to put a show on, certainly doing that here. The fact that she said in a press statement was this the first place she ever came to watch any kind of motorsport was at the Monza Rally when she was 1 month old. So that was where she got hooked onto motorsport. So it's great to see her back here in her early 20s now competing. And the driver of the other car is a real inspiration. It's Ronnie Sample, who was a professional alpine skier, competed internationally, and then he had a pretty horrific accident, a crash, left him paraplegic. And then he took to become a full-time Paralympic skier, and in alpine skiing, was very successful at that as well. Also took part in other Paralympic sports, including basketball, which he represented his country as well. So real inspiration. He was on the Paralympic committee as well, international committee, and has been competing in the Titans Rallycross Championship this year as well. So fantastic effort by him, and he's the driver of the other car there, the Austrian, that you can see now on your screen. So two drivers who have said prior to this event that in the demos they're not looking to go quick, they're just looking to go sideways and show what these cars can do. But they're certainly not hanging around here, are they?
Absolutely not. I mean, this Monza might have been the first memory of Tamara with motorsport at all, but it also has been the place where she did her first event, where she was driving in these small circuit rallies where you could drive without already having your driving license. And she did this Vedovati Monza Ronde, co-driven by Elisa Bollito. She then went on to, came back to Monza, also co-driving her boyfriend Craig Breen on the, but with not a lot of luck. I remember they had to retire from the event. So it just seems fit that being an ambassador of the Titans and being performing very well this season, I mean, it just seems fit that she was the one of those chosen to represent this formula here in Italy.
Quite interesting to put the clock on these, wouldn't it? Because they look actually pretty quick, although a bit wide there on the exit and onto the grass to take the flag. Tamara has said that I'm going to do some donuts today until my tyres are completely finished, so that might be the end of their final demo later on. But yeah, fantastic. My first time seeing those cars, actually, the Titans Rallycross cars, and as I say,
I'll tell you what,
very
Chris,
successful.
I don't know about speed, but for sure, sitting here in the commentary box, there are definitely those that make the we feel the windows vibrate every time they go by, and it's even a lot worse than the WRC Plus.
We're right next to the overhead podium, aren't we? And quite a few people up on the podium. We've had the DJ up there playing some pretty good tunes earlier on, actually. We've got a bit of British punk going on earlier on. But they go right underneath that, and it shakes almost as they go through. Here are the promised donuts then. And we saw Sample, who just gone slightly straight on into a tyre stack and was trying to reverse out of that. But yeah, terrific to see how he's gone out. That's good news.
I sort of suspect this is the beginning of any donuts that Tamara.
I think so, yes, because they're having some more demos for us later on, aren't they? Whoa! Properly airborne for Sample over the jump there. That's the biggest one we've seen. He took a real run at that, didn't he? And got all four wheels clean up in the air. So really showing what we can do in the Audi. Tiny compact cars these, but Mercedes and the Audi we'll see later on in action. We're going to move back now to competition though after that brief respite. 2 laps it will be, and this is the first of the Group 4 categories for the historics. So 2 Porsches again. Number 210 is Lucio Desanci, and number 211 going head to head with him is Simone Brasori. These are in the Group 4. There's Group 4 J1 category, which is cars built between 1982 and 1985, and the J2 category, slightly more modern, built between 1986 and 1990. So the Group 2 and Group 3 finals earlier on. Group 3, which was won by Alex Caffey, the ex-Formula 1 racer, for the 70s cars. Well, this should be pretty interesting battle this between these two Italians, both in very similar Porsche 911 machinery, 300 plus brake horsepower. The types of car Porsche's had success in various national rally championships in the 60s, late 60s and early 70s. Porsche really on the international scene, their biggest claim to fame was a couple of victories in the Monte Carlo rally, but more of course akin to sports car racing are Porsches, with the various championships that you have nationally, Porsche Carrera Cup championships, and then the Porsche Super Cup, and then of course going all the way up to Le Mans, in which they've been very successful in the Endurance Championship racing over the last few years. Victories in recent times at Le Mans as well, including the 2015 victory with Nick Tandy amongst the drivers. Of Bamber was alongside him, and Nico Hulkenberg, who's Formula 1 career on hold at the moment until he perhaps gets another drive sorted out for the 2020 season. So Porsche in rallying trim here, and these two 911s. Great to see these. Now these aren't going to have quite the brake horsepower of the modern day machinery. They're also going to be harder to wrestle around the corners because they have absolutely no modern gadgetry on them at all. This is pure raw driving, isn't it?
Absolutely. I was hoping to find, and here it is, the data for top speed, 130 kilometers an hour, which says something about the difference in grip and traction coming out of the corners from rear-wheel drive to the four-wheel drive and turbo of the R5 cars, not to mention obviously the WRC Plus machinery. I was talking to Lucky, as he's known as his pseudonym, Gigi Battistoli, who drove the Lancia Delta to second place overall in victory in Group 4J2, who we're going to see in the next heat in just a matter of minutes. And he was telling me how difficult it was for him with four-wheel drives and a limited top speed opposed to these cars. But for sure, if it was difficult for him, we can imagine that it's not easy for them either.
Too wide there on the exit. Had to get off the throttle as well, didn't he? So Dazanci there certainly losing time. Just to give you a benchmark, although they're not competing against one another, the two historic categories so far in Group 2, which was won by Marco Sapati, 3:09.9, and Alex Caffey won the Group 3 final, 3 minutes 14.2. Alex won by 5.5 seconds in the end, so it's a pretty comfortable victory in his Porsche. But at the end of the first run, we're on a kind of par with that. 1 minute 37 was the time at the end of the first split, so it's going to be in and around that, which means we're getting into the last 20 seconds or so now, and looking good for Brasori potentially. We'll see when we get the overhead view if he's still got his nose in front here, negotiating the final set of hairpins. Goes right, goes left, and a bit of fluid on the circuit as well. Flag comes out. Sanchi well clear despite that clattering of the tyre stat. 3.53 seconds. Brasori wasn't able to close the gap at all in the end, so it is Dazanci that takes victory in Group 4 J1 in the final there, and well done to him. So hand out of the window, and time for some donuts as well.
Yes. And you know, these cars, it's easy to do donuts with these cars, absolutely, and it's a tradition to part from the crowds of spectators here with a bit of, you know, you're not going to need the tyres anymore. Those are finished. No more
going in the bin anyway, aren't they?
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting now to compare the times of the last cars in Group 4J2. Lancia Delta for Lucky Cazzaro and Ford Sierra Cosworth four-wheel drive, Chiavenuto Cirillo.
Well, that was a 3 minute 10.96 from Dazanci. He's in a more modern car than Superti, who did a 3:09.9, so it was a good run that, wasn't it, from Superti? 3 minutes 14.49, the classified time for Brasori, who finished second in that final. So victory to Dazanci in the 210 car, the Porsche there. Lucio with Niccolo Imperio alongside as co-driver. And now we'll move on to, as I say,
he actually borrowed Dazanci actually borrowed Melli's car because he retired when leading on the penultimate stage with engine failure, so he actually did borrow for the Masters show the Melli's.
So this is
it.
This is Lancia versus Ford now. Fantastic. Ford Sierra Cosworth, four-wheel drive. Should be quick off the line, and was. And Lucky is in the Lancia Delta. So Lucky is in the 212 Lancia Delta, and the driver of the Ford Sierra Cosworth, number 216 in this one, is Andrea Giovannuto. So off the line well, but will the Lancia potentially have a bit more handling ability once they get to the tight, twisty sections? Potentially so, I think.
This was the duel of the late 80s. So we're talking about a 30-year trip down memory lane.
Yeah, scarily, yes.
Just bringing us something closer to our era from the Porsches. Sierra seems to be struggling a bit more. Longer wheelbase than the Lancia. Seems to be struggling in the hairpins. So we have to see how they do on the lap time.
The Delta was one of the most successful ever rally cars, world rally cars, wasn't it? 6 consecutive titles. Mickey Biasson taking a title in with Lancia as well.
Yes, it's 6 straight wins in the Manufacturers' Championship is unbeaten record to this day. And 87, it was Juha Kankkunen took the driver's title. 88, 89, it was Mickey Biasson. In 91, it was once again Kankkunen, while the 1990 and 1992 drivers' championships were taken by Carlos Sainz, who was driving a Toyota.
Yeah, Carlos, former World Rally champion. His son's pretty rapid Formula 1 driver these days, from McLaren, of course. At the split, Lucky's going to be well clear, isn't he? So the Ford, not surprisingly, was quick off the line, but the Lancia, and Lucky's a good driver as well, isn't he? Through the lap is nearly 6 seconds clear, 1 minute 35.29. It's not the quickest first lap that we've seen, but he's going to take victory in this one. Bit understeery as he tackles that sequence of chicanes. Short 120 metre or so sprint on the accelerator through to this wide left-hand hairpin. Then a bit of a quick sprint on the throttle to the next sequence of hairpins. Here's the Sierra, longer wheelbase, harder to get through the tight hairpins. Flicks the back end around on the four-wheel drive Cosworth, but boy does it make a beautiful noise when it comes past.
He couldn't, Lucky couldn't do a lot against the Porsches in sheer speed in the fast section in the rally, but the turbo, the traction of the car works wonders around this small circuit and the hairpins. You can notice the power, the torque that car has. If you see him coming out of the hairpins, you can see with every gear change, co-driver's head going back and forth.
It's a bit raw, isn't it? Yeah.
Rally cars, the 80s rally cars at their finest. And Lucky has still enjoys a lot of success. Italian and European championships with the Lancia, co-driven by Fabrizio Pons, who was the co-driver of Michel Mouton when they were winning overall events in World Rally Championship with the Audi.
He's won that easily, hasn't he? 307.8. Fastest time we've seen so far. Really pushed on in that second lap. So 307.80, nearly 9 seconds clear, and taking victory in the J2 Group 4 category in the Lancia Delta. Over its 4 evolutions, the Lancia Delta overall taking ridiculously nearly 50 titles, 50 championship titles for the car. And great to see it being run still, as it should be, in anger.
Absolutely, absolutely. He's over 2 seconds faster than Superti, which says something about the way this car is more suited to this sort of stage. And yes, many titles. I don't know who's. Somebody must have kept count, but for sure the fact that it continues to rally and to win to this day and to bring back memories. I remember the first time it was introduced back into historics. I was reporting for Rally Link from Rally San Remo, which is part of the Italian Championship, but is also part of the Italian and European Historic Championship, with the 3 events taking turns, taking to the stages in turns. And I remember this small village just above San Remo, which is called San Romolo, where the Rally Ron stage runs all around the mountains. It used to be a massive 50-kilometer stage. And being at the stop control in darkness, watching, the first thing you see is the lights coming down the mountains, then you hear the noise of that Lancia Delta. It really brought me back 30 years.
Shivers down the spine.
Yeah, absolutely, and because it was felt by, you could really feel it. We'd be there all day with these cars taking turns, but the feeling, it gives you goosebumps to overnight to first just see the lights and then listen, and it's unmistakable sounds really. I feel that the cars of those days had a lot more differences in between them in construction philosophy, but also in the sound and everything. I'm not sure I could tell today.
If you closed your eyes, whether you got a Hyundai or a Citroen or a Ford, yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, very open. It was the very much, well, not just in rallying, but in motorsport in general, all the way through to Formula One. It was the period, wasn't it? The 70s and the 80s of innovation, of design, and more freedom to be able to try things out. And as a result, you had some hugely quick cars, didn't you? A bit too quick in the end in World Rally, and had to rein it in, didn't they? But wow, what a time that must have been to witness those cars and those drivers trying to direct these missiles somehow through the turns and over the jumps.
It should be about time to see our Hyundai motorsport drivers back.
They're coming. Yeah, they come. Yes, no, you're right. Yes, because we are back to WRC Plus, so second run for the WRC Plus, the World Rally Stars. We've got Dani Sordo, Andreas Mikkelsen, Craig Breen and Thierry Neuville are the 4 drivers that have been going in action. So far, we had in the first heat Sordo beating Mikkelsen by just 0.3 of a second, 4 minutes 13.25 versus 4 minutes 13.56. Craig Breen, who was fastest of all, 4 minutes 12.05, beats Thierry Neuville in his first head-to-head. Now, they're all taking on each other, so they're all having 3 goes in the WRC Plus category. So they'll each race against one another, 3 goes each, and then the fastest 2 will go through to the final based on time. So this one is Sordo versus Breen. Breen, the quicker of the 2, although they didn't go head-to-head in that first run. But Sordo was the second quickest, although there was virtually nothing between Sordo, Mikkelsen and Neuville, who hasn't been competing in the Monza Rally up until this event today. So just coming in for the Masters show. So the Hyundai i20s about to go head-to-head. Craig Breen's only had a couple of World Rally Championship events this year, but scored points in both of them. In Finland, 7th. He was 8th in Wales Rally GB just a couple of months ago. Already 10 years since he made his WRC debut, and he's been very quick here. Craig Breen, 4 minutes 12, the benchmark time so far. Dani Sordo, who's got good experience, although they've both done this event several times. Dani Sordo's got good experience of the Masters show. Of course, he's on a different course each year, and that changes, but he has a feel for the event. Finalist up against, losing finalist up against Valentino Rossi in 2016. It's one of those, only 2 World Rally Championship wins. He's one of these drivers who's won a huge amount of stages, Dani Sordo. He's won nearly 190 stages across the course of his rallying career. Best of 3rd in the championship 10 years ago now, in 2008 and 2009 when he was a Citroen driver. He's never won the championship, but a very talented driver, the Spaniard. And we'll see what the first times that we get, see how much of a difference there is between them.
I was thinking that, I'm not sure on how this WRC Plus trophy or whatever it's called works, but it seems to be working on sort of points basis, and because this is the only time that Craig Breen will go against Sordo in a direct heat, it might prove important to see who goes to the final, because there is then going to be a final at the end.
Yeah, two points for a win, so they've both got 2 so far. So you're right, and it could be potentially those 2 going to get in the final. 0.8 of a second between them, close again, so it's going to be tight, this.
Which is 0.8 of a second between them in the first lap, which is a greater gap in the first lap than there's been previously at the end of the heat.
That's right, yeah. That's right, yeah, they've been split by 1 or 2 2 or 3 tenths of a second we've seen so far, haven't we? The biggest gap was Breen versus Neuville, which was, that was 1.49 seconds at the end of the
1.5, 1.5. But still, 1.5 after 3 laps.
3 laps, yeah.
And here
we
have
half that already, isn't it? Yeah. No, you're right.
It says something about the motivation of these drivers. Yes, I could quote Rhys Yates. I interviewed him. He missed one stage yesterday. Sort of had a small issue and then a miscalculation, so missed out on a long stage. Took a 5-minute penalty, which brought him really down the order, and consequentially also down, or rather up the running order today, because the cars were running in reverse of the previous day's classification. And he said, yeah, you know, it's fun, I'm having fun, but I have more fun when I'm doing well.
Fair enough. He's always got a positive character, isn't he, recently? Across him. So, 2.1 seconds. Sordo was 0.8 seconds clear. He's now 2.1 seconds clear. Surprised this because of how well Breen went in his first run. With that fastest time so far of 4 minutes 12.05. We could see that being beaten here because Dani Sordo is on an absolute mission here. So it looks for all the world as if he's going to win this head-to-head. It's just how quick will the time be compared to Breen's earlier time in that heat up against Thierry Neuville. Next heat is going to be Mikkelsen and Neuville, which should be interesting as well.
I suspect they might have done some small tweaks and small changes to the car. But the interesting thing is also that the next heat is going to be Mikkelsen against Neuville, who are both on 0 points currently.
Yes.
So, whereby this heat between Craig and Dani literally is needed to see who gets more up the running order. On the other side, it could be the last chance for them, for either Thierry or Andreas, to try and get a place in the final.
Well, Sordo has, as far as I can see, not really put a wheel wrong here so far. It's been controlled aggression from the Spaniards, and equally looking good through that S-bend section is Craig Breen, the Irishman. Down the gears, gets as close as he can to that tyre stack. First one and the second one. Beautiful line through there. But Sordo is already through. He's taken the flag and he wins it by over 3 seconds. For 11.10 seconds. Quickest time so far from the WRC Plus category. Really good effort that from Dani Sordo. That is 2 seconds quicker than he went in his first run. Yeah, and you can see he's quite pleased about that. He just flings the car around. Does some donuts, does a 360. He was on fire in that, wasn't he?
Absolutely, absolutely. No, it's always nice to see these drivers at doing what they know how to do best, and with this machinery, we must think that although yes, for sure they've had all the weekend on the track, both Craig and Dani. One of the things that they were discussing is that they've had to get used to what is a virtually new car for them. So I don't know how much of the experience they've gathered over the track during the course of the weekend actually does help when it comes to getting the grips with a car that on one side they're more used to, on a place where they've been working all weekend
in a different kind of car. With the R5 car, which they've been driving all the way through the rally. So another 2 points to Dani Sordo. 4 points he's on to now, and he's got the fastest time. And it was sort of, it looked an even bigger gap because actually Craig Breen just did the slowest time that we've seen so far. He did a 4 minutes 14.36. So yeah, biggest gap so far. Craig Breen not getting it together in that one. But how about this head-to-head? Now these two, as we've said, were teammates before. In fact, we're going to move straight into R5 now. So R5 next. We've got Mikkelsen and Neuville next. That's to look forward to in the next WRC Plus fight, because they drove together to win the event a couple of years ago as co-driver and driver. Back to R5 then, and Piero Longhi versus Andrea Cragnola. These were the first R5 cars out in their first heat, and it was victory in the first heat to Andrea Cragnola, who also set the fastest time so far in the category, which was a 2 minutes 52.37. Andrea Cragnola, who is in the number 6 VW Polo. Number 1 is Piero Longhi there in the blue and white car, two-time Italian champion, and he set a 2 minutes 56.58. Lots of the drivers were in the 256s or the 255s. Only standing out really in terms of how quick he was this man, Andrea Cragnola, the winner of the Monza Rally, the Stages Rally, coming into this event. So Piero Longhi will know he's got to find some time here if he's going to match Cragnola, who's been absolutely on fire all the way through the course of the last 3 days.
Well, this heat is going to be very important insofar as it's going to tell us if and how the track has changed in the last 40 minutes, which is since we last saw R5 spec machinery on the circuit. Cragnola is virtually could be virtually qualified. He's 3 seconds faster than any other car on track.
It's hard to see anybody beating that, actually, isn't it?
While for Longhi, it's really a matter of being a last chance to get over to the semi-finals and then final. So
that's right.
I have to see. I can't remember. I hadn't taken any split times from the previous runs. So 127 from a still start could well turn out to be...
That's 127 as good as it's been so far, yeah. 127s and 128s. So he's on course for it again. He's got the fastest time. The second fastest time was at 2 minutes 55.31 from
Luca Tosini,
the last one to go, wasn't he? There were a few in the 255s, but that's the next fastest time.
One indication could be that the top speeds are now slightly slower.
Yeah. 150.
Indication, I mean, of how the track conditions are evolving.
More rubber going down, isn't there? Which could be more grip. It could be too much grip as well. But you've also got the temperature starting to go down now as well, because late afternoon, looking out the window, it's been a beautiful sunny day, and we've certainly been here in much colder conditions. Been here a few times where there's been snow on the ground, but yesterday you and I were walking around the pit lane. We didn't even need our coats on, did we? It was so mild.
But I mean, on Wednesday evening, I arrived here on Wednesday, and we were setting up our office and everything. And on Wednesday evening, we left. I think it was 7:30. Had to scrape ice from I said, "Hang on, this isn't looking good." I mean, I'd known that the forecast was for sun and 2:52.68.
Yeah, he's done it again. Another 2:52, not quite as quick as the first, but he's got the first and second fastest lap times or run times now as Cragnola. So yeah, and he's beating a driver with great success here. It was Piero Longhi he was a co-driver, wasn't he, to Rossi the first time he came to this event? Yeah.
1997, if I remember well. He was co-driver to a then young Valentino Rossi and a Renault Megane kit car.
And to win 7 times with Rossi.
But Longhi is now third fastest, or should we say second fastest, insofar as Cragnola is first and second.
Yes, that's a key point. He's got a 2:54.46. So at the moment, they're the two fastest across. They're the only pair that have had 2 runs now. Everybody gets 2 runs. But yeah, it's an improvement for Piero Longhi. So he could still get through to the final here. Cragnola there, who was a class winner back in 2014 in a Renault Clio in the R3T category here at Monza. Won the R5 final of the Masters Show a couple of years ago as well, Andrea Cragnola, and has won the Stages Rally this year. So key competitor, not a massive surprise to see him going well.
Shall we say that the track is fastest, and hopefully this could be a good omen for Rhys Yates?
It could
Andrea
be.
Nocita as well? So
Nocita won the first head-to-head, 2 minutes 56.78. Yates and Katie Munnings 2 minutes 58.14. The drama was off the start line first time because Andrea Nikita couldn't get the car off the line, had a problem with the car, but they restarted it, and then on the restarts he flew and won his heat. But he's got to find more time here if he's to qualify, if he's to beat Piero Longhi's time of 2 minutes 54.46 to join what looks like actually it's going to be Cragnola in the final.
Well, actually, I was looking at the time you need to beat now to be qualified is actually 2:55.68 from Bonanomi. He's actually the 4th fastest, currently the 4th fastest, with Tosini third at 2:55.31 and Bonanomi 2:55.68.
Yep,
so
that's right. Yeah. So yeah,
that's currently the time to beat to be qualified. Bearing in mind that both Marco Bonanomi and Luca Tosini have yet another attempt to try and improve themselves.
Fastest 4 go through to the semi-finals, and then first will take on 4th, second will take on 3rd, and one of those final for the R5 later on. Right off the line, there you go then, and pretty well away for both of them actually. That's Andrea Nikita there in the black and red and grey machine, makes his way through this first sequence of corners.
Andrea drove the Hyundai R5 in Monte Carlo this year and in Corsica. He was doing very, very well in Corsica, making up some time, but setting some great stage times where he had a high-speed crash, terrific crash towards the middle of the second day. His co-driver was had a bit of was slightly injured. Spent was supposed to spend the night in hospital for checks, but just for safety. No major drama, no major scars, but it was a horrific high-speed crash. But it also says something about the way these cars are built.
Absolutely, yeah. The safety standards are...
Both got out of the cars on their own legs and didn't need major treatment after that. So yes, the speed is there. Andrea then focused on what had been his initial program. As I said, the 124 Abarth Trophy within the framework of the European Championship, which he duly clinched, finishing up on the podium of the WRC 3 in the process.
It's pretty close. Nikita 129.2, 0.73 behind for Rhys Yates. 127, mid 127 is the best first run time we've seen, but then again that's from Cragnola, who's much quicker than everybody else. So in with a chance, I would say, whoever wins this, of getting a top 4 time. Really, they're looking at, as Gianluca says, at beating 2 minutes 55.68, which is the 4th quickest time so far. And they're going to be hovering around that, I reckon. Rhys Yates, who was front runner in the British Rally Championship last year, 2018, winning, finishing in 4th place overall, moving on to international WRC 2 World Rally Championship competition with some top 10 finishes this season. So good young driver here. Katie Manning's no mean rally driver herself in the passenger seat, giving the directions, and they look like they've gelled together. A little bit down on Nikita, but I think both going quicker than they had previously. Nikita 2 minutes 56.78. He needs to find just over a second compared to his first run time to put himself in the mix here, but you've still got the likes of Bonanimi to come, who are likely going to get quicker as well. So we shall see. Although that said, that we had Longy going quicker, we had Cragnola going slightly slower, didn't we? So we're still not sure how the track is holding up here. It's going to be tight, this though. 252, 253, 54, 55, 255, 22. Nikita's done it, but Yates that's going to be a 256.66 for Yates. So it's much quicker than he went first time around, but he's still about a second away from getting into that top 4 times. So I don't think, unfortunately, Rhys is going to progress any further here. But Andrea Nikita has got a time that's put him in the top 4 there. And
he's jumped into 3rd, hasn't he?
Just behind Cragnola and Longy. So 3rd for now, but still with some quick drivers to come.
I was trying to check. Marco Bonanomi is next, and then there is another 10-12 minutes before Andrea Mabellini, who was also very close, and about half an hour before Luca Tosini is back on the track. So there too we might see variable conditions, if the track conditions are changing at all. It's different to judge by the lights. There are some clouds coming up, and with these clouds coming up, I really can't evaluate well from where I'm sitting whether the sun is still shining in, how warm it still is outside. So we'll have to wait and see. 256.66 is the time for Rhys Yates, which means that he won't be among the top 4. It was nice to see him back in Monza. He was happy to be back. Hopefully, it's not the last we've seen of this. Hopefully, Kate will keep it in there.
Good captain himself, that's right. So, as we get our latest drifting demo, we've got half of the second run of heats have been completed. It is Andrea Cragnola, whose first time was the quickest so far. His first run time, 2 minutes 52.37. Next up, from his second run, Piero Longhi, 2 minutes 54.46 seconds. And then a 2 minutes 55.22, which is seen from Andrea Nikita. And from his first run, he's yet to go again, 2 minutes 55.31. So the driver on the fringe at the moment, but he's got another run at this, is Luca Tosini. And then just outside the top 4, but with another run still to come, is Marco Bonanomi. So Marco Bonanomi did a 2 minutes 55.68. That was enough to put him in the top 4 after the first run. He's now slipped out of the top 4, but he is going to be going up next against Tommaso. You've still got Bottarelli and Mabellini to come, Rossetti and Ray, and then Tosini, who was second. the Monza Rally Masters Show 2019. It all began on Friday with the exhibition grid, a chance to meet the stars of this competition. Andrea Cragnola got the first special stage underway and won it. We had 2.5 days of stage rallying into the night using the historic banking stars, including Dani Sordo from the World Rally Championship in action as well. The Hyundai's out in force, and all of the WRC stars competing on an even keel in the R5 cars this year. Lots of traffic on these short stages. Cragnola and Craig Breen getting together, a bit too close for company. One of the stages yesterday, the jump, which features part of the Masters Show course, shortened, sharpened, gets the cars really airborne here. And you can see the stars of the World Rally Championship, stars of the Italian Rally Championship, all queued up as they're trying to find their way around the stages. That man, though, was the man that won the stages rally, Andrea Cragnola. He took to the top step of the podium earlier on today after 8 stages and 5 victories. Second place going to Dani Sordo there to the left of the picture. Andrea Nikita took 3rd place, but there taking the victory, Andrea Cragnola and Marco Bergonzi, his co-driver in the VW Polo. They won by 11.5 seconds. Now they fight for the Trofeo Marco Simoncelli. It's the Monza Rally Masters Show. We've had some qualifying heats already in the R5 and WRC Plus categories. We've had some historic finals, and there you can see the crowd out in force here over the last 4 years. We've had huge crowds of over 55,000 spectators. It's the last big event of the season, not just here at Monza, but also on the international calendar as well. They come out in force. There's fantastic fan access. There's all sorts going on in the paddock. There's live music, there's live DJs, there's motocross shows that we've seen here, exhibitions, a chance to, as you saw from the exhibition grid, get right up there with the stars of the event as well. Several of the front runners, the World Rally Championship in action here as well. Stars like that man Marco Bononomi in action as well, the former GT racer turned rally driver who has been a finalist here in the Monza Rally Masters Show. So Chris Hartley here commentating for you on the Monza Rally Masters Show 2019. Gianluca Nataloni alongside me commentating and giving you all the insight into these drivers as well. So we're in the middle of the heats now as you join us for the R5 category, and we've got these two going head-to-head for the second time. So in the R5 category, everybody has 2 runs, and it's the fastest times that count. The top 4 times will progress through to the semi-final. And at the moment, it is the driver that won the stages rally, Andrea Cragnola, that's got, well, he's got the first and second fastest times. He's had his 2 runs, but his best time from the first run was a 2 minutes 52.37. The driver that he's gone head-to-head with is another top Italian rally driver, former champion in Italy, Piero Longhi, and he's got the second fastest time, 2 minutes 54.46. The third fastest time has come from Andrea Nikita with a 2 minutes 55.22. That was just now. He beat Rhys Yates. And from the first run, and he'll be last to go in this second set of runs, Luca Tassini has set the 4th fastest time, 2 minutes 55.31. So in this one, you've got Marco Bononomi in the number 3 Skoda Fabia. He has the 5th fastest time at the moment, but this is his second run. And in this one, he's going head-to-head with another talented young driver, Damiano De Tommaso, who he beat in the first run by just about 1.3 seconds. But a 1 minute 28.58 at the end of the first lap. The best we've seen is a low 1:27, but that still, I think, could be enough just to creep in to the top 4 if he can hang it together for the second run, the second lap here, Gianluca, here on this Masters show course.
Absolutely. Damiano De Tommaso is very fast young driver. He clinched the International Rally Cup Championship this year. 3 wins out of 5 events, including the first 2 and the final, the closing, Rally di Bassano. Marco Bononomi, co-driven by Gigi Pirollo, is also being very, very fast here in Monza. He narrowly missed out on the win in the previous editions. This year said he couldn't do more than what he's done with the Fabia against the likes of the Hyundais and Volkswagens, but still the Masters Show is something that all the drivers to those who have won the rally wish to confirm, this was close and it's going to cost a few seconds. Those who won the rally still want to win the Master Show. Those who haven't won the rally want to take
another
revenge.
chance to do that. Yeah, exactly. Tommaso, clipping the tyres as you saw from the aerial shot, getting close to the tyre stack through the hairpins as well. Over the line, 254.79. Bononomi for now is through into the semi-final. Still some runners to come, but two very quick times there from them. So a 254 gets you into the top four for now, but we've still got three more sets, three more pairs of drivers to come. It's a good effort from De Tommaso as well, wasn't it? We'll get confirmation of his time once it's shown. He wasn't far away either, really did hang on here in this 2-lap run around 5 kilometres of this new for 2019 format, this new for 2019 layout that we've got. Much quicker run through, 255.36, so he wasn't far off, was he? It's not going to get him into the top four, De Tommaso, but it was a fine effort. It's one of the quicker times that we've seen so far. So now, with 3 pairs to go of their second runs, it's still Cragnola fastest, 252.68. 254.46 is Piero Longhi. That 254.79 that you've just seen from Bononomi puts him in third place. 255.22 for Andrea Nikita is on the cusp now. That's the time that's fourth quickest. So if you get a 254, you are in. And there are 6 drivers that could still achieve that and get themselves in. We've got the rest of the R5 category still to come. But we move back now to the second runs for these two drivers in the WRC Plus category. We've got Andreas Mikkelsen versus Thierry Neuville. The pair of them won the Masters Show 2 years ago when they shared the driving. So it was actually Andreas behind the wheel of the car for the final, but both he and Thierry Neuville took turns to drive and co-drive. They're going head-to-head here. This is their second run. So in WRC Plus, they're all competing head-to-head against one another. So in the first set of runs, you had Dani Sordo, who finished second in the Stages Rally, as we see a tyre stack removed by Andreas Mikkelsen. We saw Sordo versus Mikkelsen. That was very close, 0.3 of a second between them. Sordo won, got 2 points for winning that one. Then we saw Craig Breen, another star of World Rally Championship competition, up against Thierry Neuville. And that one went to Craig Breen. That was the fastest time of the first set of runs, 4 minutes 12.05. But then we saw a brilliant run from Dani Sordo, 4 minutes 11.10 in his second run. That was versus Craig Breen. Craig had a slow run, so 2 points went to Dani Sordo. So at the moment, Dani is leading on 4 points. You get 2 for a win, 0 for second, 4 for him. Breen's on 2 points, and these two, Mikkelsen and Neuville, haven't yet scored a point. So one of them is going to move on to 2 points with Craig Breen. So you're going to have Sordo on 4, and you're going to have 2 drivers, whether it's Breen and Mikkelsen or Breen and Neuville, on 2 points apiece. So if you lose this one, you are pretty much out of it, aren't you? You've got to win this one to stay in if you're either Neuville or Mikkelsen.
Well, absolutely, because both Mikkelsen and Neuville,
close it was as well. 600ths of a second between them at the end of the lap.
Yeah, as I was saying, you know, both Andreas Mikkelsen and Thierry Neuville still have one heat, and it will be against those who are in front of them in the provisional standings. Dani Sordo will go against Thierry Neuville, so with the form and the speed that he's shown until now, he could be really, really difficult to beat. He's won both heats, both against Andreas Mikkelsen and against Craig Breen. So I think that if Thierry Neuville wants to stand a chance to get into the final, which here is going to be the two crews with the most points, he really can't let this one go by.
Thierry Neuville, runner-up in the World Rally Championship. He hasn't been taking part in the Stages Rally, so he's only had one run in the car, and that was in the first set of heats, first qualifying heats in this Masters show. Nonetheless, his time was, in that first run, he nearly matched everybody except for Craig Breen. They were all very evenly matched, Sordo, Mikkelsen and Neuville. Breen was well clear. Nudge of the tyres again for Mikkelsen through the first sequence of hairpins. Going to sprint for the line, and at the end of that lap, the gap is going to be 0.39 seconds. Neuville ahead by 0.39. This is a really good effort from Thierry. He's got another lap to go. 4 minutes 13 would be a decent time 4:11 is the best time we've seen so far, but it's not about the time in this category. It's about getting the victory and getting the points. And neither of these have yet scored a point, so this is their first chance to get themselves up there. And if they do so, it's going to be very close. You're going to have Sordo ahead, but you're going to have the other three scrapping over that second place in the final with the most points gained.
2:49.70 after 2 laps, as opposed to 2:49.23, which Craig Breen has scored before, means the track is getting slightly, would mean that the track is getting slightly slower. Whilst we had the feeling from the previous run of the R5 qualifying that the crews were improving. There too, you know, it's possibly really a matter of...
probably got drivers attacking more in the second run. They've got the banker in, they've got a safe one in, and they have to go for it. Really, you know, it's all or nothing, isn't it, in that second run? That can bring a really good time, but it can also bring potentially some mistakes as well. So it's quite hard to gauge, isn't it, how that track is changing.
Look at what happened at Damiano De Tomaso, who was going fast, and then he clipped tyres twice and just narrowly missed out on being qualified.
There's the time there. It's going to be okay, isn't it? 4:13 dead from Neuville. But the crucial thing is he gets 2 points because he beats Mikkelsen. So Neuville moves on to 2 points now. Craig Breen has got 2 points. Dani Sordo has a nose in front. He's won both of his heats, so he's got 4 points. But Andreas Mikkelsen, somewhat surprisingly, has not scored yet. 0 points. He's lost both of his heats. So all he can do now is try and win the other one. He's not going to go through, though, because somebody else is going to score more than 2. Dani Sordo has already scored more, so just be for pride, really, that last run. But keeping his his name in the ring is Thierry Neuville. 4 minutes 13 dead. It wasn't a bad run. 4 minutes 13.64 for Mikkelsen. Prizes for consistency for him because he did a 4:13.56 in the first run. That's 2 runs within 800ths of a second of each other, which is pretty impressive in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I was thinking the next heat is obviously going to be Neuville against Sordo. If Sordo loses the heat...
4 points each.
4 points each. And then it will be left to Craig Breen, who's had, and the last time he's out against Andreas Mikkelsen. We could potentially be in a draw situation, a tied-up situation. But we'll come back to that later.
Look at times then, I think, won't they? We're head-to-head in times.
This is we'll look at that later because we're now back to the final 3 heats, qualifying heats of the R5 cars, whereby this is Luca Bottarelli against Andrea Mabellini. Another nudge of the tyres there by Luca Bottarelli, same thing that similar to the one that had cost precious 10th of a second to Damiano De Tomaso. Currently, Andrea Mabellini in his first run had done 2:55.92, which with the current times is 7/10 of a second short of qualifying. Luca Bottarelli is way off the pace with 3 minutes 00.61. He would really need to make a big improvement. Let's see what happens when they have then completed the first lap of the track.
Yeah,
but for sure, conditions, I mean, light-wise, these...
So it's got a bit brighter outside now, hasn't it? Yeah.
The
clouds are broken through.
Yes, there's big clouds, but they're moving. I just wonder what the temperature is, but one important indication could be the top speed of the cars, which has been improving for some, like Ranomi, and is now dropping.
149 for Bottarelli.
It's the second slowest we've seen today. But Andrea Mabellini, you see, 129.1.
That's the closest split we've seen so far. 100th of a second between them. 129, low 129. It's not that quick either, is it, for the first? It's okay, but it's not that quick. So that's the thing. It's not who wins this one. It's who gets the top into the top 4 in terms of times. And to do that, you've got to get a low 2 minute 55. 2 minutes 55.22 is the 4th quickest time that we've seen so far. Andrea Nikita, who finished 3rd in the Stages rally, is on the cusp. So I'm watching nervously to see whether he'll get through to the semi-final at the moment. We've got 4 more drivers to go after these as well, including Luca Tassini, who was one of the quickest in the first set of runs. So he's going to go in the last pairing. So we'll see how he gets on here. But this is going to be certainly close run. It was a disappointing 3-minute run for Bottarelli in the 21 car in the first run, slowest of the lot, but he's got it together here, and taking some tyres there. They've been knocked around a little bit, haven't they, in this run? They're really being much more aggressive in this second run through this left-right sequence of S-bends, and heading towards what's going to be a short 120 metres straight in the 21 car is Bottarelli. Much better run here. Then into the hairpins. Right then left to 55.22, the time to beat to get into the top four. 2 minutes 55.67, just misses out by 0.4 of a second, and it was a low 2 minutes 56 as well for Mebellini, who's improved his time but misses out as well. So close, 0.4 of a second away. Much better run there to get across the line than in the first run, but ultimately, for now, Nikita hangs on to that top 4 spot.
Yes, absolutely. I was noticing the nice aerial views from the drone at the two ends of the circuit, which only makes me regret a bit more we don't have the full 360-degree circle. But on one side, I think it was a choice of the organisers, perhaps also not to stress too much of these machines. 2:56.26 for Bottarelli and 2:55.67 for Mavellini. So a big improvement by Luca Bottarelli, a big improvement, but still not enough to secure a place.
Well, lots to do for the fans here, lots to see. We've got the Italian Air Force and some beautiful supercars on display as well. Fans get a chance to sit in there. Radio Freccia have been here providing the tunes all weekend as well, up on the podium and all around the paddock. A great sort of festival atmosphere that you get, particularly when the sun goes down here at the Monza Rally Show. There's the view now, and you can see a sort of winter sun that we've got creeping through. It's cloudy at times here, but it's been 10 or 11 degrees. It's been pretty mild compared to some of the previous years that we've had. Good crowds here today, the biggest crowd of the weekend so far coming in today, certainly coming in as you drive in through the park here at Monza, past all the runners that come out on a Sunday morning. The park was absolutely full of cyclists and families as well, and you come through that, you drive through this beautiful park, the biggest walled park in Europe, and in amongst this park, just outside the town of Monza, which is a very pretty town in itself, you've got this wonderful autodrome. So now we move on to the penultimate pairing in the R5 category. Alessandro Ray in the number 14 car. Number 16 is being driven by Luca Rossetti, and in their head-to-head, they both were in the 2:56s in the first run, and there wasn't much between them, only a 1/10 of a second or so. Rossetti won the head-to-head by 1.3 seconds, 0.13 seconds rather, 2 minutes 56.81 versus for Ray a 2:56.94. They've got to go, well, 7/10 quicker though if they are to break the 2:55. Sorry, 1.8 seconds quicker, the 2:55.22 of Nikita, who sits on the fringe at the moment of qualifying with a top 4 time for the final. 2:55.22, the time to beat. So they've got to dig really deep here. They'll know that situation. So the one advantage of going later on is that presumably they get the times fed through to them, and they know that really they've just got to throw caution to the wind here and find a huge amount of time compared to their first runs.
I'm sure they know what they have to do. Luca Rossetti is one of the greatest professionals we have in Italy. He's been Italian champion, he's been 3 times European champion, he's won the Turkish championship as well, and this year he was works driver for the Citroen team in the Italian championship. He was actually leading the event and virtually champion before the final special stage of the final event, where he had a puncture which cost him a lot of time. On the other hand, Alessandro Re too has had a very nice season in the International Rally Cup. He finished the runner-up to Damiano De Tommaso, who we saw in action before. Alessandro switched during the season between the Volkswagen Polo and the Skoda Fabia. He did most of the events in the Skoda Fabia and tackled the final decisive round with the Volkswagen Polo. I was hoping to have maybe a little advantage in performance, as has been shown by Andrea Cugnola in another HK Racing Volkswagen Polo. But because Alessandro divides himself between driving duties and management of HK Racing, which is becoming more and more successful and is getting more customers, not only within Italy but also around Europe. He didn't have time to test the car before that final round. He showed incredible speed, upped and increased his pace during the weekend, but it wasn't enough to catch Damiano. And it's a bit the same that he told me here. He said, here too, I wasn't able to test properly before the event. I'm more dedicated to running up the team and ensuring it has a smooth day running. Here they are.
Through. He's through. Rossetti with a 2:54.52. He's through for now, at least, into the top 4. He'll go with that time. 2 minutes 54.52. That's quicker than Bonanimi as well. He did a 2:54.79. So that puts him third behind Cragnola, whose best time is a 2:52.37. Longhi with a 2:54.46. And Rossetti, massive improvement there. Almost 2 seconds quicker than the first run, and really good effort by him. It was good effort by Ray as well. Did a much better time than he'd done previously, 2:55.56, but 2:54.52 for Ray puts him third, puts him into the top 3, puts Bononomi now down to 4th place with a 2:54.79. That's now the time to get in, and dropping out of the top 4 therefore is Andrea Nikita, who's done a 2:55.22, so he's down to 5th place now, out of the top 4. So Rossetti in 2:54.52, Bonanimi 4th on the cusp, 2:54.79, and probably slightly worried because one of the drivers to go in the last run is going to be Luca Tassini, and Luca Tassini was 2nd quickest in the first set of runs, and he was quicker than Bonanimi, so he's got a real chance here. Just to make the point as well, on the second runs, you start on the opposite side. So they start on the line. One starts in the pit lane there to the left. One starts on the track to the right. They go off in opposite directions. In the first run, you start either on the pit lane or on the track. The second run, you have the opposite start position. But the times actually look pretty similar, don't they, between most of the drivers, whichever side they're on.
Yes, absolutely. The first verdict that we have is that we must say goodbye to Andrea Nucita. Yeah. He'd been 2nd overall for most of the rally and narrowly missed on that 2nd step, but took bronze in the overall rally, but is now out of the top 4 who will qualify for the finals. And let's see now whether Luca Tosini and Matteo Beretta can up their game. Bear in mind that also Matteo Beretta in the first heat had done 2:56.1, which is 1.4 seconds adrift of the minimum time needed to qualify now. But if we judge it on Rossetti and Ray's pace, it would appear that these last rays of sunshine are allegedly warming up the truck a bit more, and stage times are improving. So let's wait and see. They're ready to start. Only a matter of seconds, I think.
Well, they both did well in the stages rally, which is why they've got to this point. And Matteo Beretta finished 8th as they get underway, and finishing 11th overall in the Monza rally coming into just before this event started was Luca Tassini. So they were pretty evenly matched there. Luca Tassini just finishing ahead of Raffaele Marciello, who's been to this event a few times, former FIA European Formula 3 champion, who's back to get to Formula 1 at one point in his career. He's backed by Ferrari, by the Ferrari Driver Academy races in the Blancpain. Got to GP2 as well, and was one of the front runners in that, up to 4th place in the championship before he then switched to sports car racing, and has had a good season this year in Blancpain, finishing the top 3 in the championship. So Marciello just missing out of top 10, and he was beaten just to 11th place by Luca Tassini. Beretta is in the number 34 Skoda Fabio. Watching him now, the turquoise and black coloured car. Beretta did a 2:56.17 in the first run, so he's got to find quite a bit of time here. He's got to find over a second, 1.3 seconds. 2:54.79, the time they've got to beat to get into the top 4.
And there's still another nudge of tyres. It's the one that has cost the access to the semi-finals to the likes of Damiano De Tommaso. Let's hope that Luca Tassini does not pay too high a price for this small mistake. Another thing that has been a major change this year, apart from the fact to have a one-class only event, is the conditions for admission to the Masters Show. Here too, the organisers have shown that they're attentive to their drivers' requests and attentive to change. The top 3 finishers of the rally were qualified. plus the first 7 fastest times on the final stage, which is also was used as part of the Master Show rally course. So, you know, and it therefore sort of acted as a qualifying stage for the Master Show. Plus 2 drivers invited by the organisers, which
it's gone wrong. Beretta understeers, goes straight at the hairpin, 17-point turn, and it's gone. So he's out of it. Stalled, yeah. But Tassini was ahead anyway, and Tassini did a 129.1, which is on and around what he needs to do to get into this this high 254 to get into the top 4. So he's got a chance here still. So Luca Tassini trying to knock off the perch Marco Bononomi. 2 minutes 54.79 to get into the top 4 to make it through to the semi-finals. We'll lose 8 drivers, 4 will go through to the semi, 2 head-to-heads, then a final to come. Bretta's got going again, but it's going to be an awful time for him. Here we go. I don't think he's going to do it, is he? 255, no, slower, 256.37. Actually, that's over a second slower than Luca went in the first run. So, where most people have been getting quicker, Andrea Cragnola wasn't as quick as he was in the first run, but it was still very close to it. Luca Tassini, it hasn't worked out for him there. 2 minutes 56.37. Relief then for Marco Bononomi, who stays in the top 4. We'll see him in the semi-final, obviously with that stall and straight on into the tyres, 23 odd seconds down the road towards Beretta. So it's fastest 4 times. Andrea Cragnola will be through to the semi-finals. 2 minutes 52.37. That was from the first run. Piero Longhi, who he's had the 2 head-to-heads with, Piero in the VW Polo, 2 minutes 54.46, second fastest. That was from his second run. We had a 2 minutes 54.52 from Luca Rossetti in that previous run to go third, and a 2 minutes 54.79 from Marco Bononomi in his second run to be 4th quickest as well. So it will be first and 4th versus each other, 2nd and 3rd versus each other. So Cragnola will take on Bononomi, that should be interesting, and Longhi will take on Rossetti. You've had your money on Longhi up until the second run, but Rossetti was really good, wasn't he, in that second run?
Absolutely, but there too, talking of changing conditions, it's another 30 minutes before these drivers are back, so meanwhile we can enjoy some more World Rally Car Plus action, and another interesting one too, as it is, because these drivers are now fighting for a place in their own final. Dani Sordo against Thierry Neuville. Dani Sordo, remember, has won both his heats and is now leading on 4 points, while Thierry Neuville has just won the that previous round. No, sorry, was it?
Neuville beat Mikkelsen,
he beat Andreas Mikkelsen, so he's on 2 points, and he desperately needs to try and get more points. But then again, will Sordo push to get the 6 points and secure his final? Because if Neuville was to win, there is then the potential, if Breen was to take on Mikkelsen in the final heat, which is going to be in another 20 minutes, to have 3 drivers on 4 points and 1 on 0.
Yes, true.
So this is one.
Then it gets complicated.
Absolutely. this is one of the nice features of it, that all these heats take place with so big a time gap in between themselves, whereby track conditions can change, and performance-wise, it can make a difference. We've seen it happen previously.
It's a living, breathing thing, the track, and it's the tyres and the tyre temperature and the circuit temperature that will be the key thing as well. So where you once had grip, you might not quite have as much grip next time you get there half an hour or so later. But as ever, these rally drivers drive by the seat of their pants, don't they? They react to what they've got in front of them. And they don't get to go round and round and round the same corners and get used to a feel for it. It's when you get there, sort it out, and that's what they've done. Sordo has been the quickest of all so far, so his favourite for this one. His best time in his second run was a 4 minute 11.10. Neuville's best time was his second run, was a 4 minutes 13. So on paper, there's 2 seconds between them. However, Neuville is getting quicker and quicker as the driver that's only come into the event today, whereas the others in the category have all been competing in the Stages rally. He's come into this fresh, really, but plenty of experience of the Masters show from previous years. Oh, clattering the tyre stack there, though. Not sure it slows him down too much, but he redesigns the course for the organisers and took out the tyre stack there. 2 or 3 of them coming loose. And more the afternoon goes on, the more work the marshals have got to recover the tyres. But Neuville clattering the side of it there. 125.46 for Neuville. He's over a second clear of Sordo, so he's pushing on. He's aggressive. He's taking the tyres out, but he's quick as well. 125.46. Sordo a second down, and Neuville on course to pick up another 2 points here. He lost his first heat. He won his second up against Mikkelsen, and he's winning this one. So he'll, as Gianluca said, he's going to move on as Sordo clips the tyres as well. He's going to move on to 4 points. He's going to match Dani Sordo at this stage. It could be those two through potentially to the finals. So you've got Mikkelsen and Breen to come, and Breen has got 2 points as well. So you kind of 3 of them on 4 points apiece here. Or can Dani Sordo come back? A second is a lot to try and recoup, though, isn't it, on 1 lap here. It's a 3-lap run, so it's a longer run, but he's got to try and get half a second back on each of the remaining laps of the run here. And Thierry Neuville doesn't look like he's relenting at all. So they're pushing on. Sordo making his way through the chicane section now in the Hyundai i20. On the brakes, you can see them pushed forward into the seatbelt harnesses there as they go hard on the brakes, then straight back on the gas he goes, and to sprint over the line very shortly. We'll see what the next split time is.
Yeah, that's just what I was waiting for, because I want to see how that compares to the 249.2, which we'd seen previously. It would seem that they're slightly faster. They are. 248.4, I think, is the fastest split on 2 laps that we've seen so far. Bear in mind that the fastest time in the R5 cars is Crignola with 252.3, so they're getting faster and faster.
Sordo almost matched him on that lap, though, so he was only 300 slower on lap 2, but he lost all the time in lap 1, didn't he? But Neuville's getting quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker, isn't he? And by the time he gets to the final, if he gets to the final, well, it be a turnaround having lost his first heat if he wins it. There's a long way to go before we get there. Dani Sordo probably, unless Neuville has a problem, probably not going to win this one, because making a second up over 2 laps was hard enough. Making a second up on the final laps, almost impossible. Nudging the tyres again as he gets close through that hairpin sequence. Over the jump he goes. We saw Neuville getting really airborne as he took to the reshaped jump. 3 minutes 44 on the clock, about 30 seconds to go then before they get there. It's going to be a really good time, I reckon, from Neuville as well, isn't it? 4:11.1 is the best that we've seen so far. He's certainly going to beat his own time of 4 minutes 13 dead. Let's see, we're about to go through the last sequence of corners. There's Thierry Neuville. He's got just a left-hand hairpin to come, then a sprint on the accelerator. That all looks neat and tidy. He's going to win this one, but what's the time going to be? 4 minutes 11.11. Really close. He was 100th of a second away from the fastest time that we've seen so far, set by Dani Sordo, and that's 1.9 seconds quicker than he'd gone previously. So Thierry Neuville, special run there. He gets it wrong after the line, but it doesn't matter. But that was a fantastic effort. Neuville 4:13 previously, so excellent stuff. That then brings him on to 4 points. 4 points for Sordo, 4 points for Neuville, and if in the last heat Breen beats Mikkelsen, he's going to be on 4 points as well. And then time's going to matter, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know what the... I think it's the fastest time in one of the heats that would count. In that respect, currently at 4 points, Thierry Neuville does have the fastest time, because he's got 4:11.11.
No, Sordo's
so
fraction quicker.
Yeah.
What it means is that Breen has got to win this, and he's got to get a 4:11, hasn't he? Because his best time so far is a 4 minute 12.05. So he's got to find it over a second. He's got to get the points, and he's got to get a time which is in the top 2, which means he's got to get yeah, exactly, because they're so close. But we've talked about lots of the entertainment for the crowd here at Monza, and we've had some fantastic motocross demonstrations of the 2 and 4-wheel variety with the quad as well. Look at the height of the jump here. This is out in the paddock area just behind the media centre here, which is overlooking the pit lane. And some fantastic stunts. Full inversions. And the crowd treated to entertainment, not just on the track here across the course of the weekend, and the paddock as well. Fantastic shot there. And they all took to the jump.
It is one of the features of Monza Rally Show, the possibility to be in touch with other activities, but also to be in touch with the drivers, with the stars. Coming from,
if you want an autograph or a photo with a star, you come here, don't you? Because the fan access is second to none, isn't it? Open paddock, then come into the paddock, then bump into the cars. I mean, when I got here yesterday, early lunchtime, parked in the in one of the sort of field car parking areas just adjacent to the paddock. Got out of the car, first thing, coming down the lanes of what's the Monza Park, the rally cars headed to their start of their next stage, warming up the tyres. So it's almost like being in the pit lane when you're walking around the paddock. You got the marshals get everybody to the side, but you're stood right by the cars as they come through. And of course, because it's all in the autodrome, everything's compact. You can go and watch one stage, you can go and watch a different part of another stage by walking 10 minutes. You can get back to the paddock 5 minutes later. It's all, it's all there for you to see. There's lots of entertainment, there's lots of hospitality going on, food and drink stores as well. So it's a great weekend, and it's no wonder so many people come each year.
Absolutely, but the nice thing is also that with the schedule of one stage every 2 or so hours, there's also plenty of time for the drivers to spend time with the fans.
Yeah.
They have time to debrief, go through technical stuff with their teams, but they also have plenty of time for themselves and for the fans. It's a lot more relaxed atmosphere than it is in the World Rally Championship, and it really allows them. To enjoy themselves. It's really a 3-day long party. It's really a 3-day long party, which we all enjoy.
It's a good word, actually. Party has that sort of party atmosphere, doesn't it? End of the season. Sure, they're massively competitive on circuit, but they also very much enjoy, as you say, the opportunity the drivers to have a bit more of a relaxed approach to the weekend and actually, give something back to the fans, which on a World Rally Championship they get time to breathe between stages, don't they? So very intense period it is.
Well, you do, but it's a very limited activity insofar as it's limited in time and in the amount of people. Whilst here, somebody can, while normally in the service area in a rally you would go and visit the service area but only spend a limited amount of time. Here everything is here, if you'll excuse the pun. So okay, well, let's wait for an autograph, and if I can't get it now, well, never mind, I'll go and see another stage. I'll be back in an hour. The driver's still going to be there.
Yeah,
so
no, you've got plenty of time.
That in my opinion, adds something to the charm of the whole event, knowing that there's things going on from the morning to late in the evening. Friday evening in the paddock, it was all about parties and all these hospitalities flourishing up in the paddock. Yesterday evening, this celebration from Hyundai with their guests, as Thierry Neuville put it, it was a possibility to spend time with some of the people that they normally can't spend time with during the season, and they can't see during the season. It's about giving something back. And it's also giving something back if you consider it to to the marshals. We've talked about the
who are fans as well themselves, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, they are
huge enthusiasts.
We are, because I'm a marshal myself. You're a marshal yourself. So we all are fans and passionate about motorsport. Be it drivers, be it marshals, be it spectators. Passion for motorsport is what fuels the whole thing. But obviously, being able to give something back, I was happy to. I had one of the marshals in the stop control asked me, because he was too shy to himself, says, "Can you ask Andreas Mikkelsen, Craig Breen, to sign an autograph?" I said, "Sure, no problem." And I was able to do my interview, and then kindly asked Andreas, Craig, Dani, who were only too happy to oblige.
It's fantastic,
It absolutely is. And here too.
That was leery, wasn't it? We've got our second demo run here from Tamara Molinaro, and that was Riley Sample getting very off track there. I got pretty close to the barriers as he gives it large in this what's a 540 brake horsepower engine, a Ford derived engine that powers these RX6 supercars from the Titan European Championship, the Titan RX Championship, which was launched this year, competed across 6 events across Europe: France, Britain, Portugal, Austria, Hungary and Germany. And these two drivers both competed in it. Tomorrow was indeed one of the front runners in the championship, finishing in the top 6, finishing in 6th place in the Titans RX International European Series. 2 Swedish brothers finished 1st and 2nd in the inaugural championship. Kevin and Timmy Hansen, they finished 1 and 2. Their dad Kenneth was also a very good, strong rallycross driver, former European rallycross champion. But comparable to top-level rallycross performance with this 540 brake horsepower machine, but they're relatively much more affordable. So the idea to try and bring the price of rallycross down, and it's proven to be a very successful first season of the championship with stars like Craig Breen and British Touring Car 2013 champion Andrew Jordan, Nelson Piquet Jr. Perry McCarthy, ex-Formula 1 driver, had a go for a few rounds of the championship as well. Molinaro there, a great sort of full circle this has come, because when she was 1 month old, she came to the Monza Rally in 1997. Obviously doesn't remember it, because I don't think she does, because she was 1 month old, but it was her first motorsport event here at the Monza Rally, and she's come back 22 years later as one of the key competitors in this championship to do some demos, and they're certainly entertaining us.
Absolutely, and Tamara comes from a family of motorsport. Their parents run a team, and so they were here also with cars this week. Now, this is the only chance we'll have this weekend, today, to see World Rally cars of the old generation, shall we say, in action. This is the final of the WRC Trophy between Tortone, who won the event, and Dennis Enrico Tortone, who won the event, and Dennis Babouin, who set fastest time on the final stage.
So these are cars that were running in the World Rally Championship between 2011 and 2016 that we see here now. This, straight to their final, because there were 5 entries, but only 4 got to the end of the rally, didn't they?
It's quite peculiar, because basically the first stage this morning saw the leader of the World Rally Car 1.6 trophy retire, and the overall leader of the historic retire. I know that I was standing here at the end of the final stage, and I got news from the previous stage, because the two were running almost a 30-minute interval. I wasn't able to do both, obviously, and elected to do the final one. And I was sort of thinking, well, if I was Grignola who was leading, I'd make sure.
And what's the shortest day for them as well? They're almost there when they get to the Sunday, aren't they?
Absolutely, but if I was Grignola, I know I'd try to take it easy, as much as you can take it easy with Dani Sordo trailing you by 9 seconds on a 20+ kilometre stage.
So this is the final of WRC 1.6 category for these former World Rally Championship cars, and as Gianluca said, number 80 is Dennis Babouin, number 82 his opponent in this final is Enrico Tortone, both Italians, both in the Ford Fiesta, which has been 4 of the 5 entries. Just had the one Citroen which was driven or entered in the rally by Mirko Puricelli, but it didn't get to the end of the rally. So Tortone won the Stages rally quite comfortably in the end by 18.6 seconds, 1 hour 11 minutes and 6 seconds his total time from Luca Ferri, and Dennis Babouin, who's on track now, finished 3rd a time that was 34, nearly 35 seconds down at the end of the rally. So Tortone's well up on the first splits.
One thing that I wanted to emphasize is these two teams. Tortone's car is run by Tamato, which is a very, very successful and with a long history team, going all the way back to Lancias and Porsches in the 80s. Babouin's car is run by RB Motorsport, which was running also a Skoda Fabia R5 in the big rally for Nicholas Gronholm, son of 2-time world champion Marcus Gronholm, rather a rallycross driver, very limited experience in rallying, only had done one event back home, and that was Arctic Rally original.
I did a chat with him yesterday actually, and he said it's going okay, but I'm not used to this sort of surface. It's not my style of driving really on tarmac. He said I'm getting better, but it's a bit up and down. I'm having some good stages, and I'm making some mistakes and getting some penalties as well. But you look at him, and you can tell he's Marcus's son facially. He's extremely tall as well, isn't he?
Absolutely, yes, but very, very nice guy. Had a chat with him and his co-driver. I think they're looking into getting a bit more experience on tarmac, possibly in Italy. There's this good connection with RB Motorsport, because RB Motorsport fielded a 206 World Rally car in which Marcus won the Rally Rally in Italy 10 years ago. Babwin is actually leading after the second lap, so I suspect this is a 3-lap final.
Yes, there's 2 on the notes books, yeah, they are definitely carrying on.
It had seemed to me, I wasn't sure of the timing on the first lap, because it had seemed to me that Babwin, having started from the, say, pit lane, was ahead of Tortone, but they possibly didn't stop the time, stop the timekeeping, didn't get split time, but there's something possibly not fully right with Dennis Babwin's car.
It looks slow, doesn't it? Yeah, it's definitely slow through there, isn't it? No, that's gone. What a shame, because it was going well, wasn't he, on that second lap? With his nose in front. No, they finished yet. Sorry, they
actually won. It actually was 2.
They carried on for half a lap, didn't they? Yeah, we got 2 laps on the notes, and then for all the world, it looked like they were carrying on. But there you go. It's because he's won it that he's slowing down. But I'm not sure they knew either, because they were flying along for another half a lap. And now he celebrates. Now he confirms it. 2 minutes 58.71. It's confirmed. I think a few issues with the time in there on that one, but 2 minutes 58.71 comes onto our screen. 2:59. That was for Babwin. 2:59.94 for Tortone.
It does say something to compare the performance of these cars against the R5 machinery. On Thursday morning at Shakedown, we were checking.
Again.
No, we were checking, and it seemed strange that on the first lap of the Shakedown, which was 4.5 Ks, the fastest R5 car was 10 seconds faster than these World Rally cars. We said 10 seconds, a huge difference. But if you look here, on a 3 kilometer master show, and okay, in different conditions, but obviously when they're driving, when Dennis Babwin is driving, he's definitely not looking at Crignola's time in qualifying. No. And still, they're 6 seconds faster, which on 3 kilometers make it 2 seconds per kilometer, which is the same sort of gap, seconds per kilometer, as they used to have in the first run of Shakedown. So while these cars were comfortably ahead of R5 machinery last year, it seems that really the decision of the organisers to go towards R5, which could be one of the possible future evolutions also of World Rally Championship, was the right one once again.
DTM on display here as well in the paddock. As you can see, that's Jamie Green's Audi from this season, the former DTM Championship runner-up, and driver that's finished in the top 3 times as well. Top 10 runner this year with Team Rosberg, and the DTM car is on display because DTM, the German Touring Car Championship, coming here to Monza next year on what's a reshaped calendar for the DTM, a much more international calendar, on 27th and 28th of June for the 5th event of the season. The DTM will be coming here to Monza. So very much an event to look forward to. That incredibly quick machines on one of the fastest circuits in the world. Should be a great combination, I reckon. So we have the third and final set of demo runs now from these 2 Titans rallycross drivers.
I'm wondering whether Tamara's going to keep her word and drive it until there's no more rubber left on the rims.
Until the tyres explode was the promise. I think she might actually, yeah. They're certainly getting braver and braver, aren't they? And we saw, it was only about 10 minutes ago that they had their second runs, that we had Sample almost throwing it off into the barriers coming out of one of the hairpins. So we shall see, but our last chance to enjoy these 540 brake horsepower Ford-derived engines powering along these Titans rallycross cars. And as we've said, attacking for not big time, but what could be good times, because they're certainly driving them well here. Tamara Molinaro, who's in the green and white Mercedes, Riley Sample, who is in the red and and white Audi, the Austrian driver, the former Alpine skier and Paralympic Alpine skier as well, following his injuries. He actually started skiing at the age of 3, so you know, as soon as he was able to, at the age of 3, like many do in Austria, he was on the skis and was a very, very capable competitor. Then had a pretty horrific accident during training in the 1990s, and he broke. He became a paraplegic. He broke some bones in his back and his spine. He's also competed in hand cycling, wheelchair basketball as well, and took up Paralympic cycling in Paralympic skiing rather in 1996, following that horrific accident he had, that training accident that left him paraplegic, and has now taken to becoming a pretty impressive driver as well, competing with 4 top 10 finishes in his first season in the Titans RX International Championship, finishing 15th in the championship, a championship which featured more than 30 drivers taking part across the course of the season as well. And Molinaro, said a few times, was up there, didn't quite get on the podium, 4th place finish being a best, but consistency while they were in 6th place in the championship, 4th place coming in the final round in Hungary, which had 4 other top 6 finishes. And she has promised that she is going to do donuts until her tyres are completely finished. Well, there's probably not much left of the tyres the way they've been driving these cars around. The Mercedes gets airborne over the jump, and you can see they are very nimble machines as well as being very powerful machines. These certainly takes a real skill though to control 540 brake horsepower that's unleashed when you stamp on the throttle coming onto these short, sharp straights that we've got. So here's the Audi of Araini example, the hand controls on the car, and that was the area on the previous run where we got onto the grass and almost to the barriers. Bit more circumspect this time, but still getting the back end of the car nicely around through that sequence of hairpins. So a great arena in which to display the capabilities of the car. Gets properly airborne as he goes over the jump, and to have a bit of fun with these cars at the end of what's been a really successful 12-round championship for them as well, a championship which expands to North America next year with an international version of the championship. The European championship will continue on as well. So these two have given us plenty to enjoy between the competitive head-to-heads that we've had this afternoon.
There was one thing I was noticing, Chris, is that although, yes, we did have ice on the windscreen of our car the other evening, it's been mostly dry, and even it hasn't been damp overnight. I was walking on the grass these days, parking the car in some parking, and we didn't seem to get stuck in mud like in previous years. And you can see it also here. These cars have been into the grass more often than not, but haven't brought
because the grass is not,
the grass is dry. Haven't brought any filth or anything back on the track.
No, it's been pretty dry and very mild for the time of year.
Right.
Florence has been really mild, hasn't it?
Oh yes.
T-shirt.
It's mild to the point that would you believe we still had mosquitoes? I couldn't sleep last night before I set off to here because of mosquitoes humming around all night long. So
definitely haven't got those in England.
Well, that's even more reason for coming more often. Definitely. Here they are, Craig Breen, Andreas Mikkelsen.
Yes,
can't even wait for the Titans cars to get out of the.
Oh, here we go. Well, this is Ryan. Oh, okay. It was bound to happen, wasn't it? He's found the barrier. He got close a few times. A bit too excited on the donuts. It's all right. You've got all winter to get the car fixed, ready for next season. But yes, he clattered the barriers there with the excessive donuts. But this is on then to what is going to be the final qualifying heats for the WRC Plus category, and it's a critical one. Andreas Mikkelsen hasn't scored any points. He can't qualify now because you need 4 points to qualify. It's 2 for a win, 0 for second. 4 drivers, each taking each other on once. At the moment, we've got Dani Sordo and Thierry Neuville have both won 2 out of 3, and so they're both on 4 points. Mikkelsen's on 0. He can't catch them. Breen is on 2. He can match them. He can, if he wins this, go into 4 points as well. And then we think it's going to go down to times. Now, there's not much damage was hardly anything in the times as well. No, already got one away.
He stalled the car at the start.
Well, they're going to restart it. We saw that earlier on. Mikkelsen's away. Breen has stalled the car on the start, but they might flag this and call upon a restart. We saw that earlier on in one of the R5 heats. Was Andrea Mikkelsen, wasn't it? On his first run that stalled on the line. Got another chance and then ended up winning his heat up against Reece Yates. I think he's got the message because Mikkelsen's slowing down.
And with Sordo and Neuville really 1/100th of a second apart in fastest times, Thierry Neuville if he were to sorry, not Thierry Neuville, Craig Breen, he'd have to set also a very fast time, because if they're going back onto if they're going tight on points, and if then fastest time is the tyre up,
if
to go to the final, actually
it's only 100th of a second between Sordo's best time
and Neuville's.
So Neuville's,
Breen might as well set the fastest time altogether.
Yeah, I suppose if he matches Sordo and he does a 4:11.10.
What's the possibility? What's the chances of him matching a time at 100th of a second?
Not much, but I've seen stranger things.
And imagine he matches Neuville.
4:11.7. Yeah, 4:11.11. Yeah, no. Then I guess it would go to head-to-heads, wouldn't it? Oh God, goodness those. In which actually that Breen beat Neuville. That was the only one that Neuville lost. I think it's Breen first time out. They're both away this time. So yeah, the long and short of it is. Apart from getting a new degree in maths, the long and short of it is that Breen's got to win. That's the first thing, but he's also got to win with a good time. He's got to win with a time in the low 4:11s as Mikkelsen removes some more tyres out of the way, goes to the grass, but the grass isn't too wet and damp, as Gianluca said, so he still finds traction there somehow. But it's just for fun, this one, just for a bit of pride to try and get this victory. Thank you very much. We've been bought drinks to warm us up, let's say, that kind of drink. We've got welcome to Italy. We've got Breen, who's got to go for it as well. So we've got Mikkelsen going for it. He can't qualify for the final, but just trying to salvage a bit of pride here. You've got Breen, who knows he's got to get a really good time here of 4:11.11 seconds or quicker and win the race.
I'm curious to see what the first split time is going to be. It looks like they're driving a lot more sideways now than they used to in the previous heats. So
water. It looks like water anyway.
Definitely need it for my sore throat. Been battling with a cold and it's getting worse and worse. So could definitely do with something to help me out. Okay, here's our first split time, and it's 1:25.7, and it's Andreas Mikkelsen who's leading. So.
Yeah, we can see how aggressive he was, couldn't you, at the start? I wonder if Breen's got a bit of an issue here, because he was, of the first set of runs, he was the quickest, wasn't he, with a 4:12.05. And the second run for Breen, he had the slowest time that we've seen so far, 4 minutes 14.36. And he's already nearly 2 seconds off the pace here, so I wonder if there's a bit of an issue here for Craig Breen in the car that they haven't been able to fix in between.
Could it be also something of an adjustment, suspension-wise or whatever, gone the wrong way? I mean, we've seen this happen in Monza Rally Show, because the race usually uses the same part of the circuit, once in one direction, the other direction, but mostly it's running around all over the place, and drivers tend to get information and then make setup changes. But I've seen it happen quite a number of times with driver coming to the stage and said, yeah, we tried something, but it's gone the wrong way. And if you do it, for instance, before the Grand Prix stage, which is a monument 45 k's, as opposed to the others, which are 20 or some even shorter.
Big effect on your rally, can't it?
Hats off to the marshals in action. We've seen them now. They haven't had, in all honesty, they haven't had that much work this year. We've only seen one car have a big, and I can't remember who, well, maybe it was Beretta in the final round of the R5 who really did go a bit too much off, stalled the car, had to reverse a couple of times. But other than that, and a bit of nudges, a couple of times have they run really over. It's,
no inflated champagne bottles to knock over this year.
No.
Breen was better on that lap, so he more or less matched Mikkelsen. So yeah, and the cars obviously didn't get off the line first time around. So I don't think this is all Craig Breen. I think there's an underlying issue with the car. What this does mean, if Mikkelsen wins, and I mean, even if he were to win, which seems unlikely now, and Breen's not going to get the time that he needs, it means that Sordo and Neuville, very much like that, they're going to go through to the final.
It is, and it's going to be all the more interesting because, as we said, Thierry only had his first time out with the car this morning. But then again, as I said, of course, Dani has more experience, but he was, however, going to have more experience than all of the other drivers put together with the amount of times he's done and won this event.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, we're talking about a double winner, a two-time winner of this event. So
That's right.
he was always going to have a bit more experience of the track. How you transfer that to the setup of World Rally Car Plus is it unknown, because we must bear in mind also that last year the only 4:12.81.
Yeah, that's his best, his personal best, Mikkelsen. 4:12.81. Breen came back at him on that last lap. He got the gap down to 1.3 seconds, but he lost too much time on that first lap. So, yeah, better from Mikkelsen. He did a 4:13.56 in his first heat, a 4:13.6 for his second. It was just more aggressive, wasn't it? You could see the way he flung it around. The pressure was off. Yeah, another 4:14.11 from Breen, and it was what, it was 1.8 seconds, wasn't it, that he lost on the first lap. If you take the 1.8 seconds away, it would have been an all right time, 4:12. I still don't think he'd have got down to the 4:11s though. So with 4 points apiece, it should be Dani Sordo and Thierry Neuville that qualify for the final. 2 wins out of the 3 each. And there's confirmation that Breen and Mikkelsen just got 1 win apiece and 2 points for a win, so 2 points each for them. So it'd be Sordo versus Neuville, and that is going to be very close to call, isn't it? Because not only have they both had success at this event, but they have both set an almost identical time in their final set of heats. So we'll see that final to come. So it's all about the glamour here at Monza as well. There's plenty of that in and around the circuit. Lots to do on track, lots to see off track, and
yeah, it's as I said, it's always a big opportunity for marketing, for all the companies, brands that want to have an image.
Well, isn't it? Yeah.
Because this event appeals to fans of all sorts of things. You know, there's fans of motorsport, motorcycling. There's VIPs, TV stars. No, I just wanted to end it up with what I was saying previously, that the only team to have experience of World Rally Car Plus here is M Sport, that took 4 cars last year, which we all very much missed this year, the Fords. I seem to know that M Sport also missed not coming to Monza this year. Hopefully we'll see them back in action next year. And now Hyundai have their data too, so...
Yeah, that's true, yes. If they all come back, it should be fantastic 2020, shouldn't it? Right, we're into our semi-finals. Only 4 events to go now. 2 semi-finals for R5 and the final. And we've got the final for the WRC Plus as well before the final. Andrea Grignola has been the man. There he is, the number 6. He won the Stages Rally. He's won both of his qualifying heats. He's set the fastest time. And in this one, he's going up against that man, Marco Bononomi, who has set the 4th fastest time coming into this. So it's 1st versus 4th. The next semi-final will be 2nd versus 3rd. And the 2 winners go through to the final. So it's not so much about times, just beating your opponent in this one. Marco Bononomi has driver that's got, well, they've all got quicker and quicker generally, but he found quite a big chunk of time in the 2nd heat. So if he can continue that trajectory, he might have a chance here. Former Audi factory driver, was 6th overall in last year's Monza Rally, and 2nd in the WRC 16 category last year. When both of his heats in last year's Masters Show, wasn't quick enough to get through to the final. He's competed at Le Mans with Audi, Spa 24 Hours, big events like that. Former Italian GT champion, former single-seater racer in Formula 3 and Formula 3000s as well. So hugely experienced, popular figure here. But Andrea Grignola has had the edge, and 2.3 seconds up at the end of the first lap. It looks like he is marching his way to the final here, doesn't it? Unless he has a big mistake on this 2nd lap.
Absolutely. I mean, I was thinking earlier, you mentioning Marco Bononomi with Audi, that apparently Gigi Pirolo, who is his co-driver, tends to go from one Audi driver to the other because he's been for years before. Before Bononomi, he's been pairing driving for years Dindo Capello, who is a multiple Le Mans winner and who hasn't done the last few editions when Gigi took co-driving duties with Bononomi. Gigi is one of our most experienced drivers, and I think he did, possibly not the first, but he definitely was here on the second edition of the rally.
Right.
And if you consider that this year we're celebrating the 40th edition.
Yeah, 1978, wasn't it, this event started? And it's grown and grown, especially over the last 10 years or so. Crowds have, not quite, but almost doubled. Bononomi, great driver. He got to the podium at Le Mans as well in 2013, but and he's no mean driver in a rally car, but Andrea Cragnola has been the star so far this weekend in the rally, in the R5 category. More than 2 seconds clear at the end of the first lap. The flag comes out, it's going to win it by a mile. 2 minutes 51.08. Better second lap for Bononomi, only 2.25 seconds behind, but he kind of matched the time second run around. However, Cragnola did it all on the first lap, and he'll take that VW through to the final. His opponent, we're about to find out, he could be for a third time potentially facing Piero Longhi, because Longhi was the driver he went up against in his 2 heats and he beat him on both occasions. So Piero Longhi is going to go up next, but he's not guaranteed a place in the final, because first of all he's going to have to take on Luca Rossetti, who's also a very accomplished Italian rally driver. And Rossetti was a driver that had a huge improvement in his second run, which was what got him through to third place in terms of the times and got him through to the semi-final. So Cragnola, we know he's going to be in there with his co-driver Pietro Ametto, who is going to be, his co-driver who's going to be through though with him, Longhi or Rossetti. Longhi's in the number 1 car, Rossetti is in the number 16 machine, and they are about to come to the line. After this, we'll have the WRC Plus final, and then we're going to have the last final of the day before the podium celebrations will be the R5 final. So it's a short turnaround, isn't it, for the drivers? Certainly from semi-final to final, you can't really make any changes to the car, can you?
No, it's absolutely, go in and come in and go back out. But on the other side, it does help insofar as if you are in all nice and warm,
yeah.
to that extent, the 18 minutes, the 6 minutes more rest, let's say, that Cragnola will have against Longhi or Rossetti, whoever goes to the final, wouldn't make a huge difference. They'll both be warming up their tyres once again before going back to the track. It won't make a huge difference. I don't think it will.
Just looking at the past results from the last few years, Luca Rossetti, who's about to go, he got to the final in 2016, was beaten in the final by Paolo Andrucci, who's had a few Masters victories, but that's been a good recent run that he had to get through to the final in 2016, the final of the R5 category. And so he's had a pretty good weekend so far in terms of his pace, which is where the qualifying drivers they're coming out. So the light is just starting to fade a little bit now.
Rossetti has been waiting in the start position for a while. Long is just out of the pit lane now. I was wondering why he didn't appear to be there, and actually just literally now seen him come out of the narrow place between the two buildings at the end of the pit lane. So Rossetti will have been there for the best part of 2 minutes, while Long is. And this is another of the, mind playing tricks one against the others.
Maybe
keep you waiting there, getting told, come very last minute.
Maybe he was just having his lunch. He's here now though, and he's off the line well. Piero Longhi, there he is. So good head-to-head this should be. Piero Longhi, this is his 17th Monza rally, so he matches the record set last year by Alessandro Perico. So he's had 17 appearances each. So to say he knows his way around is an understatement, and having said that, he takes the tire stack out, so didn't know his way around that corner quite as well as he should have. Would have cost him a little bit of time, but not too much, I don't think. He's quite aggressive on the way into that left-hander as well, isn't he? Here is Luca Rossetti then, got to the final a few years ago, as I said. Can he go one better and win it this time? He's got to get to the final first. He's got to beat one of the best drivers out there to do so. Piero Longhi should be a tight run. There wasn't much between their times either in the qualifying heats, these two. So Rossetti and Longhi worked for the split time over the jump he goes, that time is, ignore that one that's on the screen, that's not representative where we're at yet. When we get to the end of the first lap, we'll be able to see where we are.
Yeah, it's the same issue as we had previously, I think.
It'll be about 127 to 121 seconds when it comes to the standing stuff.
Another thing that we must consider is that Luca Rossetti had to change co-drivers at the very, very last minute. His regular co-driver, Eleonora Mori, has had an issue, and she couldn't do the rally, so I send
it's close. Let's have a look. Again, that Longhi's transponder's not working. He's not that far behind, is he? So 128.5. More tyres removed. Nose on that time in the VW, wasn't it? So he's pushing. He knows he's got to push hard to have any chance of beating Rossetti here. But it's going to be tight. We can get the split time. We've got the top speed time is a bit down. Cragnola 158. 157 for Rossetti, 157 kilometres an hour, so a little bit down, not much. 251 was Craniola's time. Incidentally, that's the best time so far. It's quicker than he managed in the heats, Cragnola. 2 minutes 52 twice in the heats. So we're about 45 seconds away from finding out who is going to win this one.
We saw this. We saw the same sort of thing happening last year, didn't we? In the finals, they seemed to be faster than
just digging a bit deeper and throwing everything at it. He's still in this, I think, isn't he? It was pretty close. They went over the line.
It's difficult to judge from where we're sitting because obviously we have a very, very limited view, and it's a part of the track where they're racing in the straight line in the pits and they're just coming out of the jump on the other side. So we really, every time we see them, they're really flat out. So it's difficult to judge.
Yeah, there's not much in this, I don't think. Soon we'll get the overhead view. We're about to find out because just 2 more hairpins to go for Piero Longhi. 2:48. It's going to be a decent time. Might not win this one though. Rossetti's gone sprinting through. He's just going to do it, I think. Rossetti, yes, by 0.26 seconds. Heard him roaring past our commentary box, so he knew he was on the straight a bit quicker than Longhi, but he had a bit of a longer straight run to the line as well from this side, so it was going to always be close, but by 0.2 of a second. Victory in the semi-final and a place in the final then goes to Rossetti. He's going to take on Cragnola, and Rossetti getting quicker and quicker and quicker each time he goes out. Not as quick as Craniola's 2 minutes 51.08, but if he can keep on the improvements, I think he'll give Andrea a decent run in that final.
The thing is that Rossetti has done 2:54.88, which is slower than the time in which he qualified, which was 2:54.52. So for some reason, while for instance, Longhi has done 2:55.14 and has qualified with 2:54.46. So
at the start, he was first 2:56. He wasn't to begin with, so he's found the pace. But
Rossetti has found something in between passes.
He's got to find 3 seconds. That's the problem because Cragnola is that much quicker, isn't he? So Cragnola versus Rossetti. What will be the last head-to-head? The last competition of the day. There's one more to come before that. A brief respite for Rossetti. He's got to get ready almost straight away. We're going to have the final for the WRC Plus category now, though. 3 laps it will be. It'll be a longer 3 laps as well for the R5 category, won't it?
So this is it. This is actually the final. Thierry Neuville against Dani Sordo.
2 drivers who've been in the top 3 in the WRC. Second this year for Thierry Neuville, a couple of third place finished in the championship for Dani Sordo back when he was with Citroën. Now both in Hyundai colours, the i20. Hyundai having taken that maiden manufacturer's title, taking Tanak to the Drivers' Championship as well in 2019. Fantastic season for them, fantastic to have them here with us.
And in 2020, Tanak is going to join Hyundai, so
yes. Off the line they go, Sordo and Neuville. And remember, in their previous run, there was only 1/100th of a second between them. Over the jump, then it's going to be critical first lap. This is where lots of time it can be won or lost. We've seen it time and time again this afternoon. Somebody loses out on the first lap. They can match their opponent on laps 2 and 3, but they can never get that time back. So you've got to get it absolutely right, absolutely straight away here. And they know that their opponents is the equal to them. There's nothing between these two, so they've got to be millimetre perfect in their approach to the chicanes, the hairpins. They're going to throttle aggressively but smoothly, get that power down, get the handbrake working. The notes have got to be spot on from the co-driver as well. You're relying on them a bit less, I guess, at this point, because you've already had 3 runs up to this point when you get to the final, but still they play a critical role here. So Neuville versus Sordo. We'll get the first split time at the end of the first lap pretty shortly. We've got the speed trap through there. It's pretty decent. 163, it's the fastest that we've had. That's 171 kilometres now, 163, and that's the first lap as well. The time will perhaps get quicker than that. We're watching Thierry Neuville making his way through the chicanes, as through the hairpins goes Dani Sordo, whizzing past our commentary, watching that here in the background is Neuville on the pit lane side, and Sordo is a second up, 1 second exactly between them, 125.28 and then 126.28 at the end of the first lap. So he's got to go some now to try and bring that back in, that real lap back in over the remaining 2 laps here. The Master Show has got under 3 kilometres to try and gain a second. It's not a lot of time to claw it back. So again, that first lap might be the thing that wins it here.
And they're both under the watchful eye of Andreas in principle. We can see him from our commentary box with the podium.
Woolly hat on to keep the head warm.
Which says something about maybe the temperature inside.
Yeah. Doesn't have the protection of hair. I know how he feels. Hat's essential at this time of year. So watching on, yeah, and I'm taking to the grass there, but I say we can find traction on the grass this weekend because
it's a great view, isn't it?
Yeah, that drone shot, fantastic, isn't it? You can see the tyres are clipped out of the way. Oh, and how close was he to that tyre stack as well? Dani Sordo really pushing on here.
Not much track, not much space left, is there?
There's less than not much sometimes, isn't there, when he goes right by those tyres, Dani Sordo.
2:48.67 is, I think, the fastest intermediate for the second lap we've seen.
Yeah.
I could remember something on 2:49. So I haven't written them all down, to be honest.
Gaps down though, 3/10, nearly 3/10 quicker on that second lap was Thierry Neuville. Even if he does that again, he's still going to be behind. But Dani Sordo's getting a bit ragged here, isn't he? We've seen more of him than Neuville in this run, but we've seen him taking out quite a few tyre stacks so far.
It doesn't seem to affect his stage time, though. I mean, taken at the right angle in the right moment, apart from some bit of body work starting to flap around like I seem to see Thierry Neuville's front right wing. But other than that, it doesn't seem to make more of damage than that. It's a lot worse, and it was more time consuming with the R5 cars. But that's just the point of these cars having a lot less power and a lot less possibility to recover from a mistake.
Sordo's matched the best top speed now with 172 kilometres an hour. It's pretty impressive to get to that speed in such a short sprint, isn't it? Only a couple of 100 metres when they get to the timing run coming out of the previous corner. Sordo then into the final set of hairpins. His gap was down. He was 7/10 clear. Sprinting for the line is Thierry Neuville through the pit lane, but he's going to close the gap, but not by enough. 4:11.36. Third fastest time of the day. Second time he's been in the 4:11s. And Dani Sordo wins the WRC Plus final here at the Monza Masters Show. 0.82 seconds behind in the end was Thierry Neuville. Still a good effort that. And Thierry quite as quick as he went in that second run. But it was the first lap that let him down. He lost a second there. He was quicker on lap 2. He was a tenth slower on lap 3. So 1 second less than the first lap. Now, end of the season, job done. Tyres can be lit up here. Inter-team battle between these two. Kind of a bit of fun for them at the end of the season, but you've got to make it when you're up against a fellow WRC competitor in the same car. You've got to make a point, haven't you? And show who's going to win. And somewhere in amongst the tyre smoke is a victorious Dani Sordo.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dani was quite upset yesterday evening when on the final stage, which was a short stage, because of a small issue with his car, he lost 5.6 seconds and the chance to play the win. He was trailing Quignola by somewhere in the region of 4 seconds, 5 seconds until then, and that gap doubled in just that one last short stage, with just under 22 kilometers left to run. So it was mission impossible, and it actually didn't. So, in fairness, it does seem some sort of right payback. secure Masters trophy. Days with his team, really having donuts around them.
Starting to show now.
Yeah, absolutely. Not sure, but hats off to Thierry and to Florian Holla-Bourdette, who is standing in for Nicolas Gilles in co-driving duties this weekend. Actually stayed very calm, remained very calm next to the car, and this is one of the nicest shots that we can see. I've seen it happen.
There,
I've seen it happen often this weekend at the end of the rally, where winners went to congratulate. Second runners-up went to congratulate the winners, hugging themselves. And it's been a nice sporting battle, but the battle must remain confined to special stages. Once we take the helmets off, they're all friends. Well, they're teammates here, so yeah, possibly even more than that. And while we gear up for the final, wonder how long it might take for them to clear the stage for Andrea Crugnola and Luca Rossetti. But it's well deserved, you know. It's the preparation. When this used to be the final, I remember they used to set up the podium right next to the track.
That's right. Yeah.
And I remember standing next to the track and just literally within moments, a few years ago, within moments of the dust cloud settling with the tires and the final dust cloud of the donuts, walking in to interview Thierry Neuville and Tony Cairoli in one, I think, Master Show a few years ago.
Slightly earlier start and finish time this year as well, so you'd always got that pretty much dark, wasn't it, for the last final?
Absolutely. It was
photographers' flashes going off as well, yeah. So excellent.
Andreas Mikkelsen joining the party.
Come to congratulate Dani Sordo. There he's Dani. He's done a good job though, Thierry, when you consider he's had, as we've said a few times now, less time in the car and less time on the track this weekend than anybody else. Fantastic job to get to the final. And he wasn't far away, 82 seconds after 3 laps. He's Del Barrio is co-driver winning the event. Recently he's had a couple of finals and has missed out as well. Particularly as you say, come close to winning the stages right in the Monza rally over the last 3 days as well, right? After 3 days was only 11 seconds down. So well done to Thierry Neuville, who got to the final. Dani Sordo had the edge, and all the way through the heats really just looked like he was really 100% up for it, didn't he? And was throwing the car around, was pretty aggressive, was maybe overstepping the mark a couple of times in that final, because he certainly 3 or 4 times where he ran into the tyres, and he lost a bit of time relatively on the second and third laps.
But as we said, you know, it didn't affect his final time that much, so there too. But there too is what I was saying before. It's experience. Experience also means knowing where and how to let the car do it and sort of get away with it.
You know, real opportunity to see where you are in relation to your competitor. You know, that really
Andreas Mikkelsen climbing in next to him, is he?
It's like free ride, is it? The previous winner 2 years ago.
No, it's Carlos. Issue in the previous days, and they called in Nicola Gornella to stand by. Nicola Gornella is the co-driver for Tommaso Ciuffi, who won the Peugeot Trophy last year. Got a deal to do the Italian Championship with the Peugeot team this year, with Paolo Andreucci as a coach, and with the car being run by the same FEF Sport outfit that runs Citroen's, the Rossetti's Citroen.
Yeah.
So they have been sharing service area all year long, and Nicola was telling me that he was sort of literally next to boarding a flight to Paris, where the Peugeot prize giving. See, that's Andreas. Getting a lift.
Yeah, there you go.
They used to do that with circuit racing. I'm not sure I want to do that with a rally car. I've seen it happen with more than one driver in Formula 1. But see, this is the...
3 in a car. Never seen that before.
And Andreas Mikkelsen demonstrating that it's possible also with a rally car. With a roof vent.
Don't slam the brakes on there, Danny. Whatever you do. No, he's not.
No, he's out of the car.
He's out of the car as well.
And the roof vent is also handy to hang on.
Well, fair play to Hyundai and the drivers for coming here and bringing the car and the drivers to the fan zone this weekend.
I think we really must say a big thank you to Hyundai. They threw a party. They brought the drivers. They brought the cars. They were here. They are here. All of them are apart. There's only Sebastian Loeb missing, but Andrea Adamo, top management, is here, and I think that Monza is also giving it back to them in some way. Remember, they launched this very car, the Hyundai, the i20 NG i20 was showcased here 2 years ago. The presentation of the new car with the new WRC Plus regulations was done here in Monza. So it's a very nice relationship that goes on. And
as you say, fantastic. Yeah, we won the manufacturer's title for Adama. A great first season in the job. It's also been head of the R5 project as well for Hyundai. Continues to look after that. And then they've got the drivers' world champion switching to their team next year, Roy Tanak, the very rapid Estonian. So it looks like they're going to continue their great form into 2020. We shall see. That would be a great WRC season to come, I reckon, next year. But this is our final of the day, and it's the R5 category. Andrea Cragnola essentially is unbeaten. He's not lost any of his heats. He didn't lose the semi-final. He won the rally, Stages rally coming into this event, and he's had the fastest time. He's the huge favourite for this. He set the fastest time so far. That came in the semi-final, 2 minutes 51.08. Luca Rossetti's best time in the heats was a mid 2:54, so he has got to be absolutely on his A game, Luca Rossetti, and really probably needs to hope that Cragnola has a moment somewhere, because if Cragnola puts in another run like he has been doing, he's going to be pretty unstoppable in this one. The slight difference is that it's a longer run this time, so 3 laps, whereas they've been doing 2-lap runs so far.
It's everybody's here, everybody's out on the track. We can see the clerk of the course, Fabrizio Fondacci, Davide Casati, press office, Oscar Comi, Lorena Bestavista, secretary of the event.
All on the podium to our right,
the stewards, everybody is here and out to watch it, and to watch it live. Matteo Losa from the press office coming in. The podium ceremony will be up here. The prize giving master will be on the podium, so it's only normal that everybody's getting ready. But here they are, they're finally off.
We're underway. There's Cragnola then, the strong favourite coming into this. Then again, Valentino Rossi last year was the strong favourite for the super final. He didn't win it. It was Tony Cairoli. So this is a head-to-head, and things can change and get the course 95, 98% correct, and you still might not win, because you make an error here, you can lose those 2 seconds very easily. So there is Luca Rossetti, who's been a driver that's finished in the top 3 in the Stages rally in previous years. He's got to the final of the Masters, where he was beaten the finalist 2016. Can he do something special here? It's going to have to be special. He knows he's going to have to up his game, continue to up his game, to have any chance against Cragnola. Cragnola will be fitting if he won, because he's been awesome this weekend, all the way through all the stages, hasn't he? And in this Masters finale. But in Rossetti, I think he's got a decent opponent here that's going to push him hard.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about concentration, being able to keep your concentration for long, and to avoid at all costs mistakes. In such a short run as the Masters show, although we've seen in the past somebody do recover or have some issues, but with smaller effects. But you see,
Haas in front, he's 2.69 seconds clear already. Now, Rossetti, if we've seen the pattern, is that he might be able to sort of match his times now, but he's just lost too much time off the line. It's off on that first lap. It's just getting down to pace straight away that Cragnola has been the master of so far, hasn't he? He's straight on it, and that's what you need to do.
Yeah, the thing is, with such a short distance, even if you were able to get information on how your opponent is doing, which I very much doubt, there's not really anything to. There's not really a case of backing off because I've got 1.2 seconds. Let's just try and manage the gap. It's really a case of flat out all the time, both of them. And whereby Crignola lost his touched lunged those wheels, didn't seem to lose too much time. Rossetti's giving it all he's got. Look, even his third brake light has fallen out. It's just being held by the cable. So really, driving that car.
End of season type drive, this, isn't it? Yeah. And sparks were flying as he took the jump. That's for sure. We said Crignola nudged the chart tyres. Rossetti's actually got the faster top speed for what it's worth, in a straight line at least, which means he's getting some of the course absolutely right, isn't he? And he's looking like a decent run. It's just that Crignola is that much quicker than everybody else as he's been all the way through. 2 minutes 51.07. That is a hundredth quicker than his previous best over 2 laps, which was a 2:51.08. So he's going even quicker in the final. As long as he can hold it together for the third lap, he should be a victory, because he's now 3.7 seconds clear after 2 laps. So a better lap comparatively for Rossetti, but he still lost time.
Yeah, but I mean, Rossetti, I think, is also faster, if I've done the maths right. Rossetti is also faster than he was in the previous heat.
Yeah.
But we must bear in mind that was 4.8 seconds adrift of Crignola. Sorry, 3.8 seconds adrift of Crignola. So it was anything below that would still be a bonus in the final.
Yeah,
but
if he can get himself in a 2:53, I think he'd be pretty pleased with what he's done, won't he? But there you go. There's that top tail light, brake light dangling by a thread. Luca Rossetti giving it beans again as he goes over the jump one more time. We're in though to the final 30 seconds again. Tyre snap removed by Luca Rossetti. No fault for the effort that he's putting in here into this wide arcing left-hand hairpin. He goes the widest of the hairpins. There we see Andrea Crignola though, who's just about to negotiate the final 2 hairpins. Right, then left, then on the accelerator for the line. It will be a victory here at the Masters Show for Andrea Crignola. He takes the victory by a huge amount, 4 minutes 16.09 his time. He's nearly 5 seconds clear of Luca Rossetti, the beaten finalist. Andrea Crignola finishes what has been the perfect weekend here at Monza for him.
Absolutely. It has happened a number of times that the winner of the rally has also secured the Masters Show, but for sure, for Andrea Crignola to do it this year is some payback for, as I said, an excellent season in the Italian Championship, the title of Italian Rally Tarmac Champion, and he's also kept his word insofar as when I was interviewing him at the end of the very last stage, he said, yes, it's a perfect 10, a very nice season, but there's still the Master Show, and I want to win that one too. Yeah. And he has done it. Hats off to Andrea Crignola and his co-driver for this event, Marco Bergonzi. Marco was very emotional when I was interviewing him at the finish. He says, I can't believe that my name is going to be in a roll of honor where the last names written were Valentino Rossi and Carlo Cassina, who is an inspiration for many co-drivers in Italy. Yes. We're talking about somebody who's been in rallying from, I think, before even Marco Bergonzi was born. So it does say something. Not very many donuts though.
Not yet. He's going to get back in the car.
Do you think so? Everybody running back. Get He knows how to put on a show.
He does, and he's beaming smile on his face all weekend, hasn't he? Great glasses.
Who's wearing those on stage though?
Was he wearing them when he was driving? That's the question.
I'd have to check the onboard, but I sort of suspect.
I mean, no wonder he was quick. He got double vision there, hasn't he? You see the corners half an hour before he got to them.
Yeah. But stop on those and offer them on to the drivers next year. Could work well. I'll try to have a word with Andrea when he comes to the podium after the interviews later on.
Marshall's getting a look in there as well. There might be some donuts now, I reckon.
I think he's being told to move the car close to the park further because obviously with the prize giving happening on the F1 podium, which is right next to our commentary box, the best way to get here is to drive the car to Park Ferme. But no, the crews are walking. You can see them under our commentary box. They're actually walking on the track. So the power, I think that, there it is. There is the Podium. Is actually the other one. It's not the same one that has been used for the prize giving of the Monza Rally show, but the Master Show Podium is going to be where the jump is. It's
yeah,
but no, it's not really on the ground level because they're using the jump. It looks like they're using the jump, but they're putting the car on the jump as if it was a rally podium. And they put it just next to the podium. They might put Rossetti on the other side. Steals the show. Got it all.
He's trying to keep his balance and his glasses. I'm just saying, it's the hardest thing he's done.
Yeah, could prove one of the hardest. Yes, could prove one of the hardest. Wow. And there it is.
Star he's been, hasn't he?
Driver and co-driver. Michael Mengonzi was normally with other people. And there they go. That's what I was saying.
Remember, in the rallies, in the same machinery, he beat all the guys that we saw in the WRC Plus category, the Masters. They're all in the R5 category, with the exception of Thierry Neuville. He beats at the stages really, but he's beaten Dani Sordo, he's beaten Breen. He's beaten all these guys to take the title. You're going to look back then at what was a fantastic run, wasn't it? Even quicker than he went in the semi-final by 100th of a second over 2 laps. 2:51.07 for him. And the last lap was pretty handy as well, wasn't it? 125.01. So a really quick final lap as well. He just didn't let up.
And Luca Rossetti doing his best, giving it his best, but really nowhere within striking distance of Crignola, like, in all honesty, most of the rest of the pack for this weekend.
No,
it's been a really nice Masters show. It's been a very nice event. We haven't, thanks also to High and I, we've had World Rally cars, the Plus spec, with the good hope of seeing the likes of M Sport back next year. Maybe some more others to join in. I think the future for rallying and for Monza Rally Show and the Masters Show is bright. Anyway, we've had if this edition is anything to go by, with the glorious weather we've had, all the fans backing up, and we can see them getting ready for the podium. If this is anything to go by, well, it's been really a successful edition, and here's to more in the future.
Absolutely right, and a well-deserving victor in Andrea Grignola, co-driver Marco Bergonzi. They'll be making their way to the podium very shortly. The champagne, the trophies, the Marco Simoncelli trophy. It's the big trophy. Great star. The chance that we all know he would have got to shine, because Simoncelli used to be champion one day, and suddenly he's actually 16 years MotoGP World Championship. It's in his honour that for the Masters show they compete for Marco Simoncelli trophy, legend of two-wheel racing,
and a very beloved young man and driver also in Monza Rally Show. I remember him interviewing him, having him here in Monza Rally Show. Started off with small machinery, I think. Off the top of my head, I think it was a Flip Poot, Chevy 1600, and went all the way to Ford Focus World Rally car in his last appearances, co-driven by Guido D'Amore. Was really a nice guy, and it's nice, in my opinion, that something is done to remember him, and that the Marco Simoncelli trophy awarded to the winner of the Master Show is one of the cherished awards. His family are taking on his legacy with in motorcycle racing and in charity projects to remember Marco. There is some projects have reached completion, and then now there's a hostel, something in his native town, project brought forward by his family and his girlfriend. So it says something about the the nice person that he was, the legacy that he leaves behind, and the way that people want to continue to do things in his name. Here they are, look. The Hyundai crews, Andrea Adamo, Andreas Mikkelsen, Anders Jäger, Craig Breen,
welcome to
Martin
join in the
Widder.
celebrations, absolutely.
Martin Widder, who stood in for Paul Nagel, who I think is expecting a child, his wife. And
it's a fair excuse for missing the Monza rally. We'll let him have that.
Yeah,
it's the only excuse, but it's a fair one.
I'm sure he would have been happy to. Maybe he's watching. Maybe he'll be able to watch, and maybe he'll be able to come next year. Who knows?
Let's hope. Yeah, let's hope. So it's been a terrific weekend, and some great head-to-heads we've had, haven't we? It's just brilliant to watch the driver skill, the precision that they have, and how they're able to get straight down to it from the word go. The very best drivers, and keep that pace up without knowing necessarily how much you've got to push in relation to your opponent. You're just racing the track, racing it yourself, and driving the car to its absolute limits, and it's a wonder to watch.
Absolutely. This image of the winning car, the car that stole the show this weekend, apart from obviously the Hyundais, which were in a class of their own, but in a totally different thing. And here they are, you see all the crews and all the marshals next to them. The fans are flocking in from the grandstands, even using photographers and video crew also using a tow truck. We can't see it now, but we saw it before. They're standing on top of the tow truck to take the best images, and spectators also can be seen on the terrace atop the central building.
Some key moments this year for the VW Polo. We had Peter Solberg getting his R5 class win in Wales Rally GB's last ever WRC appearance, absolutely romping the category and finishing well up in the top 10 overall in the VW Polo. The driver that took the VW Polo to its competitive debut a few years earlier, and here it is as a winning car in the Monza Rally, the Masters show here, 2019.
It's also won events, including in the European Championship, driven by Petter's son, Oliver.
Yes, yeah.
If you remember pictures of when Petter took the title in GB, and with a small Oliver standing next to him, and now to think that it was very, very emotional, this Wales GB, with Petter coming the class win at the end, having done the event together with his son, the same team with his son.
Yeah,
it was really
special,
something
wasn't
emotional.
it? Yeah, and great speech he gave on the podium at the end as well. Now is the time, though, this man, Andrea Cragnola, and his co-driver Marco Bagonzi lift the championship trophy. Well done as well to the runners-up, Luca Rossetti, and to his co-driver.
Nicolò Gonella standing by once again for Leonardo Mori. That's it.
Champagne time. He's going to win this one as well, I think.
Yeah, he was fastest there too. Hasn't let anything go by.
That's the right speech. He's lost the glasses though, or he's given them away. So there he is, to the right to be pictured, the winner.
It is. It's been Rossetti and Cragnola have been fighting also throughout the season in the Italian Championship, so there's a huge amount of respect between them. This is some of the images of the Masters show. Piero Longhi, Andrea Nucita, some of the. Should be Rich Yates, Katie Munnings, Andrea Nucita once again. It's a Hyundai festival, but with Skodas and the Volkswagen that came up on top. It was an interesting trophy by Hyundai, which attracted quite a number of drivers. And thanks once again to Hyundai, it also brought the WRC Plus cars.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
gave us a chance to see them
for the fans, wasn't it?
In action. Absolutely. From last year, the first appearance of the Fords was something that everybody was waiting for. Monza has always been at the forefront of bringing motorsport and the finest drivers and the finest cars at the action. So on one side, it didn't feel right to have to be without those cars this year, but as I said previously, hats off to the organisers who have been very brave to do a R5 only event. Here too, it's something that I think has a view to the future,
Gave us some really close stages rally as well, didn't it?
Absolutely. Very brave of the organisers also to change the Master Show formula, to reintroduce the recce formula with and some tweaks to the program.
Yeah,
which
it flowed really well. You know, the afternoon, if you come here to watch the afternoon, if you're watching, I mean, it's non-stop entertainment, isn't it? You get 4 hours that fly by because you've got, even when there's a gap, you've got these demos from the Titan rallycross cars, the drift cars as well, and the marshals and the organisers just keep it flowing. It's straight into the next one, and it flies by. You've got spectacle, and the spectators here are right by the action, as we've said all the way through the course of the weekend. I'm a big fan of the new course as well. I think this year's course, I know we like the donuts around the champagne bottle, but in terms of the real sense of speed you get, it's greater this year, I think, with this new layout.
Absolutely. We've also been lucky insofar as, because of the weather and, as we said, the conditions of the grass and the areas around the track, there hasn't been that much drama. There has been, I think I can recall, one Porsche and one R5 car only just once reversing, which has also helped. Whether this means that, you know, there's been tweaks and the right choices, and here this is it.
WRC Plus Podium, Hyundai Fest. Here they all are. The winner, Dani Sordo, and deservingly so, runner-up in the Stages Rally, but he and Carlos de Barrio take victory in the Monza Rally Master Show for 2019. They're all up there to his right, to our left as you look at it, Andreas Mikkelsen, then Craig Breen, Thierry Neuville with those trademark glasses, second from the
with
right.
Andreas Mikkelsen handing out the trophies, acting as ceremony officer.
You get paid extra for that, does he? So yeah, it's been fantastic to have Hyundai here and to see those drivers, some proper star drivers.
That's something we don't see often. It's a 4-crew champagne podium fight. It's not something we see that often. It's normally limited to 3. No. So this is one of the images that we cherish.
Didn't want to leave Andreas out, did we?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. They've all deserved. It's well deserved. It's really well deserved.
Yeah, and Danny's been a keen supporter of the event for a number of years now, hasn't he? So it's good to see him getting the victory.
He's calling on to somebody, and I sort of suspect that we might see Andrea Adamo.
Is he possibly pretending he can't get the champagne open until the unwitting victim arrives? Right, this is a look back then at the category, and lots of action from those 4 drivers because they all had 3 runs each, taking each other on. Then we had coming through the top 2 point scorers to the final after the head-to-heads. Dani Sordo won 2 out of his 3 qualifying heats to get through. Thierry Neuville did exactly the same thing. He lost his first, but he won heats 2 and 3, so they scored 4 points each to get through to the final, and they also, in that last run, almost exactly matched each other's times to within 100ths of a second of each other. Piero Longhi has been one of the key elements this year as well, one of the front runners in the R5 category, and had a couple of head-to-heads, got to the semi-final, a couple of head-to-heads in the heats with Cragnola. Certainly gave him a run for his money, and got through to the semi-finals, not quite through to the final. He was beaten by Luca Rossetti. Cragnola going on, as we've seen, to take the victory. So yeah, nice touch to have all the marshals and everybody behind the scenes gets the chance to come up to the podium now as well. And ground level, get right up to the and from the grandstand you can see this unfold right in front of your eyes, of course, as well. So for the spectators, it's all very much on hand for them to see.
Yes, as I was saying before, you know, it's having them so close and everything is also some sort of important payback for the marshals too. We said before that there would be no motorsport at all without these marshals, these volunteers. The FIA has gone all the way to establishing a Volunteers Day. Yeah, now the other class is being rewarded for the master show. The FIA has gone all the way, and I feel very rightly so, into establishing Volunteers Day. No motorsport, nothing at all would be possible without them, but I feel that they quite too often they tend to be forgotten, taken for granted. It absolutely isn't. So I know it's a topic which is close to your heart, it's close to mine. As I said before, we both come from we both still are on the field. So
Yeah. They,
hats off once again.
The lifeblood, aren't they, of world motorsport. So our WRC 1.6 winners, they had the final with victory at the time of 2 minutes 58.71 going to this pairing up, taking their trophy
Dennis
now.
Pabuin and Roberta Spinazzi, they're a pair in real life. Roberta...
in real life.
Yeah, sorry. in everyday life,
yeah.
sorry. Some would say there's life outside motorsport. Sorry, no, it wasn't meant in that way. No, I was saying that Roberta is often a driver of her own, but here she was co-driving.
That's right, yeah. So we see some action now. Yes, Dennis Pabuin, the driver, Roberto Spinazzi, the co-driver. They were in the number 80 Ford Fiesta, and they were up against in the final Enrico Tortoni and Maurizio Tortoni in the number 82 Ford Fiesta. There then at the car, the pair that went on to get the victory. You've seen them up on, having their moment up on the podium now as well, with the historic podium, or podiums to come as well after this, but good opportunity to look back on some of the earlier head-to-heads that we had near the start of the afternoon.
And this are the historic classes being rewarded. All the...
There's 4 groupings in the historics, weren't they? Yep. We had right very first competition we had actually. The start of the afternoon was the final for the Group 2 historics, Group 2, Group 3, and 2 Group 4 categories as well. Group 2 won in the 203 car by Marco Superti and Giulia Paganoni in the co-driver's seat. Beat in the final in their Porsche. They beat Matteo Musti and Fabio Frascetta to take victory in Group 2. And then a good time as well on the oldest cars out there, 3 minutes 9.90. Some of the more modern cars weren't able to match that time. Group 3 final then by a pretty handsome margin, 5.5 seconds, was won by Alex Caffey, former Grand Prix racer. So Michele Caffey in the co-driver's seat in their Porsche 911. So they took victory in Group 3, and then a little bit later on in the programme we had the 2 Group 4 categories.
This is the Lopresti versus Caffey, Group 3 prize giving. Alex Caffey co-driven by his son Michele. Alex Caffey, as we said previously, former Formula 1 driver, now runs the Alex Caffey Motorsport team in the European NASCAR and the Squadra Corsa Angelo Caffey, with lots of drivers on their belt. Michele Caffey has, I saw him act as a spotter for one of his dad's drivers 2 years ago when Franciacorta, the Italian round, when we used to have the Italian round of the European NASCAR series. Beniamino Lopresti, one of the organisers of the Milan Rally Show.
He's keeping the champagne. He's not spraying that. Somebody's Christmas present, that is. So in the 203 car, it's Marco Superti who won his Group 2 final up against Matteo Musti. Wasn't without drama, was it? Ah, there we go. Marshall's retrieving the tyre stacks. But despite not having the most fluid of runs, taking the victory. And this was the Group 3 final. There's Alex Caffey, Michele Caffey, alongside in the green 206 Porsche 911. And they were going head-to-head in the 209 car with Beniamino Lopresto and Fabrizio Sala, who we've just seen joining them up on the podium as well. Then the 2 Group 4 categories, J1 and J2. The J1 category, we had victory in the number 210 Porsche for Lucio De Zanchi up against the 211 Porsche of Simone Bressori. So that victory fairly handsome as well. 3 minutes 10.96 for De Zanchi, 3 minutes 14.49 for Bressori. And in the final historic category, we had what turned out to be the fastest time of all in the Lancia Delta from Lucky. did a 3 minute 7.80, handsomely beating, even though it was quick off the line, the beautiful sounding Ford Sierra Cosworth, number 216, which got off the line well, but ultimately wasn't anywhere near as quick through the turns. Second place in the end, going to Andrea Giovanettu. So they'll be making their appearance on the podium now, those Group 4 drivers. Yeah, having probably had most of the afternoon, once they got their runs out of the way, to enjoy watching the rest of the action.
Which is another important feature of this event. I mean, normally, you know, in other places you just finish and leave your car in Park Fermé, get off the shower, and maybe come back to collect the car and off to the prize giving if it had not been done on the podium. That's here right. You just stay, hang around, get a drink, and watch your colleagues taking turns. Here he is, Luigi Lucky Battistoli, and his co-driver, together with Cazzaro, Cristiano Chiavenuto and Cirillo, for what should be, I think, our final prize giving of the day. That's right. If I'm right.
That's right. Yeah, the last two junior categories.
And still, Marshall's collecting some
top right corner. Yeah.
That wheel was lost by one of the last cars in the main event. See, some people had time to shower and get back to normal clothes. Some people just kept their overalls and stayed there. And
we'll get the sponsors on the podium, haven't you? On the race suits. Don't forget that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, well done to Lucky. Really, again, somebody that's supported this event for quite a number of years now. He's normally
and with his
one of the
son,
front runners in the historics.
And with his son taking to co-driver duties and narrowly missing out on a win in the WRC 1.6, Alberto Battistoli, who is one of our rising stars, who has started rallying as a driver in some of the historic cars, Lancia 037, Ferrari 308. He is now exploring modern cars, drove the final round of the Italian Championship in a Skoda Fabia on gravel, and is working alongside his university studies. He's working towards a career, something next year, so I'm waiting for confirmation, but for sure bright and promising. Very, very nice, very, very funny, very communicative. He posts his onboards, including or actually enhancing his mistakes.
No, really?
But always laughing. But he's really got the right attitude. You know, he's like, I'm here. I have to learn. I have to learn from my mistakes, possibly avoid repeating them. Yeah. He's co-driven by Cazzaro, who is here with his father. Nobody co-driven, but you know, everybody's trying to give him as much tuition as possible. But he's very, very smart, and I think I wish that the best is yet to come for him.
Absolutely. Well, many competitors that come to the Monza Rally and the Masters Show come back year on year, don't they? Because they enjoy the experience, they enjoy the atmosphere, they enjoy the competition as well, which is a pretty intense few days, but it has its relaxing moments as well. They enjoy the fan communication as well that you have at this event. And for a lot of the
Alberto was driving last year, if you remember. He was driving the black Lancia 037, right, co-driven by the daughter of Mickey Biasione. In the Italian Championship days, when they were both Opel drivers, Gigi Battistoli and Mickey Biasione were rivals. 30 plus years after that, their two sons, son and daughter, did Monza Rally together last year.
Yeah, it's a nice story, that, isn't it? Amazing, isn't it, the amount of sons and daughters that come through and go on to follow in the footsteps of the parents and go on to compete in motorsport as well. It's in the blood, as they say.
Isn't that what they mean by saying to keep it running in the family?
So some group shots here on the podium there. Alex Caffey in the middle, still with the sunglasses on, looking cool. And for a lot of the competitors as well.
But Crugnola hasn't taken his sunglasses.
No, I think he must have given them away. Somebody's pinched them.
Who's been the car? I think they're in the car.
It's a nice touch, that. Yeah, he's been deserving, hasn't he? Can't get up now, that's the problem. Once you stop, you stop. And here we go, the ticker tape is set off. Big smiles all around. Cheers. Lots of silverware handed out. For some of them, the end of a long season as well. Just a couple of weeks away from Christmas, and a beautiful way to end the season. A well-supported event as ever. Good crowd here, particularly today. Weather has been absolutely exemplary for us, and we've had some really good competition on the track as well. Historic modern-day machinery, some real stars, both past and present, from not just rallying but from motorsport as well. So great shot that as the ticker tape comes down a bit more. So it's the first bit of snow we've seen, isn't it, this weekend, because it's been a very mild event. So
I think that it says something that the most widespread quote amongst drivers at the end of the stages is, "I'm having fun, I'm having fun." This is really the image, together with this thing of everybody celebrating, losers and winners all together. This is the image that I will retain from this year's Monza Rally Show.
Absolutely, and lots of smiles all around. We've certainly enjoyed it, from Gianluca Nataloni and me, Chris Hartley. We hope you've enjoyed it too. Hope you've had a great year of motorsport. Have a very happy Christmas, and hopefully we'll get to do this all again in 12 months' time, because since it started back in 1978, this event has grown and grown and become a firm favourite on the calendar, not just here at Monza, but across the course of international motorsport. So hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us for our coverage of the 2019 Monza Rally Show, and well done to all of those co-drivers and drivers and all the hard-working teams behind the scenes that helped to get their cars to the end of the rally. And of course, a massive thanks to all of the marshals and organisers at this event as well. It's been a great few days. It's been a great afternoon. Thanks for watching the Monza Rally Show 2019.